Actually, as I think about that, where's that file? I'm pretty sure I have it saved on the computer. If not, I got an easy way to access it. I gotta make sure to loop that later. I have to make sure to loop that later. Hello. I'm still doing behind the production work. Shut. What the fuck? What the fuck? What? I ain't closed that. If I fucking don't have myself inside of the fucking audience space, for some reason, when I'm in the audience space, it disconnects. Weird. That is bizarre and weird, and I don't know why I did that. Please tell me that did not close down the other side of the update. Okay, no. We're good. Still setting things up in the background. Boom. Live on that. No, I didn't even close the space, so I don't know how the space closed by itself. I was in the audience setting things up, and then also communicating out all the tweets, and I didn't even know that it closed. Without you telling me. That's weird. Anyways, I need to turn these things back on. I haven't changed any audio settings, Alex. I will address everything in just a second while I figure out why my tech shit wasn't working. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, just a girl. That's on. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Who this motherfucker up there? Right, now what's this about not hearing me? Roll, roll, roll. Finally finished all optional quests and wilds with all weapon types. Based. Ugh. Shouldn't be anything wrong with the settings because I didn't turn anything off except for my filters. I'm working on this secret project that I want to have out by the end of the month. Should be able to have it out by the end of the month. You need to have a job by the week after next. Well, it is what it is, just a girl. But I always remember, the reason why you are doing it is because you prioritized being able to have peace of mind over being tortured by a person who's not appreciating you. And that's what's important. Anyways. I bring you here to tell you special news. Somehow, Palpatine has returned. And ImAllexx decided to return from the mystical digital wilds, back not only with the milk, but with refutation of his allegories and his accusations. And did it in under 2 hours of a response video. It is immaculate. No ukulele in sight neither. It might actually be a worthwhile YouTube addressal. So, we're going to get into that. And then we are into shit as usual. Let us begin, children. Let us begin. However, you are not making it out with first hearing the ads. Roll that shit, Jethro. If I can find the file! That wasn't supposed to loop.
You're listening to 148.8 The Coon.
And now, Carl's words of wisdom.
You know, sometimes y'all just don't need to be talking. Just close your mouth. Just close your mouth. Sponsors for Single Player Carl and Radio Coon are provided by BBC Migraine Powder, Jib and Toby's Ethnic Enrichment Playground, Cringe on Demand, Blockbuster Entertainment, Uncle Tony's Riot Seasoning, Smart Negro Brand Colonized Sheets Dating App, Immemorial Malt Liquor, and PointDexter.com, and the generous donations and watch times from viewers and haters like you. Thank you! And if you'd like to support Carl, consider leaving a wonderful donation at Ko-fi.com, Subscribestar.com, YouTube.com, and Twitch.com/SinglePlayerCarl. Make sure to support your Nicktree today, or you hate black people. Alright. Cue up the video on with the lights. And begin.
Has threatened me and blackmailed me constantly throughout our relationship. This video is my response to allegations made by my ex-girlfriend Alice Hez, who I was in a relationship with for the majority of 2023. Alice hit me, kicked me, emotionally, verbally, and physically abused me, as well as threatened me and blackmailed me constantly throughout our relationship. Alice has continued to harass me by posting false information about me, as well as fabricating stories about our relationship online to this day. All of this will be covered in detail in this video, and for full clarity I will be reading from a document that I have written to make sure that this is treated with the seriousness that it deserves. Since our relationship ended, Alice has lied continuously for the last 12 months that I was under a police investigation, to friends, ex-girlfriends, and YouTube commentary channels. Alice has continued to make false allegations about me to this day, and said that she had pressed charges against me in a comment on TikTok. This is a lie, as at no point have I been interviewed, arrested, or charged with a crime, but Alice continues to slander me publicly with these lies. Alice said that future partners can check Claire's Law, and later claimed she had got me put down in the system so that any future partners who know how Claire's Law works can use this information to stay safe from me. The information that is accessible through Claire's Law would be a criminal record, also known as a criminal history. All of this information is available on the Claire's Law website, which I will link in the description. Alice has said that Claire's Law can be used and that I am in the system, alleging that I am a convicted criminal or that I have a criminal record. Alice also says in the same messages that the police didn't do anything at all. These statements completely contradict each other, as it would not be possible for the police to have done nothing, and for the police to have put me on the system as a convicted criminal or as someone with a criminal record. Alice's story continues to make no sense, as Alice later said that I was charged by police, but this would not be possible if the police never did anything at all. Alice claims she had achieved her goal of getting me put on a list accessible via Claire's Law, and that she had saved people because of this. None of the statements made about the police investigation make any sense, as Alice claims she had put me on a list that would require me having a criminal record and a caution from the police, but also says the police didn't do anything at all.
It feels like it's a bit of a loop. However, scripted, addressing, clearly some bullshit that she's been running on either, it looks like it was TikTok, but TikTok, Instagram, microblogging websites, addressing the claims directly with screen cut. He's already jumped 15 different hurdles. We haven't seen him stick to landing yet.
This is because Alice is and always was lying. I would like to make it incredibly clear. I have never been contacted, approached, or interviewed by police at any point in my life, and I do not have a record or any cautions. Claiming that I am a convicted criminal or have a criminal history is the first of many lies that will be covered in this video. There has at no point ever been a police investigation, but Alice has continuously lied to hide the truth about what really happened in our relationship and solidify the false narrative that she's...
Throughout the video, keep an eye on the actual screenshots that he shows. I listened to this, but I didn't look at the screenshots, but apparently it's like the same ones he's using over and over again, so just pay attention to that.
I'm looking.
Built about me over the last year. Alice wrote all of these messages and posted the document knowing that the police investigation was a lie, as it would not be possible for Alice to share any information if this was at any point an ongoing case. A YouTube commentary channel called Samuel said that she had been dealing with the police instead of immediately taking it to social media when he spoke to Alice.
Hey, I just thought I'd come in to say that I've spoke to Alice, the ex of Alex, and I've also spoke to ImAllexx. Now, Alice is...
This is unlisted from lyrics. ImAllexx allegations, plus Really Mag Zerka PDF drama, plus tips responds. We covered this on the podcast. When was this? This was during the Zerka kick stream bullshit. So, middle of the year?
Is dealing with this with the police.
Something like that. I think it was mid to end last year. Probably like August, September.
About that, trying to get the situation sorted.
That she had been dealing with the police.
And I've also spoke to ImAllexx. Now, Alice is dealing with this with the police as well. Has got the police involved. So instead of just immediately taking it to social media and speaking about it, has also got the police involved beforehand. And is dealing with it that way. She's going to the police about that, trying to get the situation sorted properly before she speaks about it online. Which is definitely a change. Usually people just immediately come online to speak about stuff and air it all out before going to the police.
This is a lie, as Alice had already posted months before she had released the document that I was on Claire's Law and a comment on TikTok in April 2024. This would mean the police investigation had already finished and that I would have a criminal record 3 months after we had broken up, which would be impossible. Alice had also posted a video in April saying that she wanted to save the next girl that I would date.
Oh man, that's nasty. Oh, that's toxic as fuck. There's one thing that I'm happy about is that I do not have a partner like that. Fucking Christ almighty. What a horrible choice of music too.
This clip is from a stream 2 months after Alice had posted videos and comments about me. Samuel says Alice does not want to come out and talk about this until after the police investigation had taken place, which was a lie. This is not how anything is unfolded publicly at all. Alice has been posting about me constantly and also released an entire document about me after lying that I was on Claire's Law. She did not wait for a police investigation because she knew there wasn't one, and Alice later admitted that this was the case and that the police didn't do anything. At one point, Alice claimed I hadn't responded as she speculated that the police had contacted me, and that was why I hadn't replied. Alice was upset this message had been leaked in a YouTube video, as she hadn't intended for it to be posted publicly, as it would be incredibly clear that she was lying about the police investigating me to the point where she was actively speculating and telling lies when questioned about it. At this time, Alice reached out to my ex-girlfriends privately and asked my ex-girlfriend Jess to plan a statement to back up hers, lying about the involvement of the police to convince people that her story was the truth. Alice has continued to post about me and harass me to this day, despite stating in her document that she was going to move on with her life after it was released in June. Since Alice's document, she went on to post many things on Twitter, TikTok, and in statements that contradict her story.
I'm pretty sure that is the third time I've seen that.
She was going to
That's the third time I've seen that document where he has her screenshot.
Move on with her life after it was released in June. Since Alice's document, she went on to post many things on Twitter.
Those are new.
TikTok.
Those are new. That is the same thing as before.
And in statements that contradict her story. One of the contradictions made was in a series of tweets Alice posted asking for YouTubers to reach out to her so she can do interviews for their videos on the false police investigation after her document was posted. Alice did multiple interviews where she has lied about me having a criminal record via Claire's Law and being under investigation.
So he keeps reposting that particular screenshot where she is posting about Claire's Law.
She can do interviews for their videos on the false police investigation after her document was posted. Alice did multiple interviews where she has lied about me having a...
So this one right here, where it says DM sent to J. Aubrey, this is pretty much what he keeps reposting, and then he keeps highlighting different lines from this. I think he's done it so far at least 10 times. Each time uniquely, specifically doing it by highlighting certain phrases inside of the entire statement itself. I'm certain the reason he's doing that, that's not an excuse, by the way. I'm certain the reason he's doing that is so that he's doing this in a staccato manner where every time he brings up, here's where she's doing it on this site, here's where she's doing it on this site, here's where she's doing it in this way, that he's using an example for each, but he keeps reusing this one, and when he brings it up, he spices it in, he spices it up with throwing in new screenshots of other things. So he shows up the cap of things like this from her DMs, where this came from, and then puts it up against her Twitter stuff, then does the same thing with the August 20th thread here from Twitter, and then the lyrics stream, or showing the context that it came from the lyrics stream, which was June 12th, 2024, looking back at our broadcast, which is when we did it on 8 months ago, episode 6.
It's a tap. That's the second twin tower.
June 12th, June 21. So it was within that time period. All of it is probably stuff that he was probably documenting and just allowing himself to build up a repertoire. If he has a repertoire to use from, I don't know why he's using the same picture over and over again. It's only 4 to 5 minutes into the video. However, the amount of times he's used it 4 to 5 minutes into the video is a little bit concerning.
In June. Since Alice's to her, so she can do interviews for their videos on the false police investigation after her document was posted. Alice did multiple interviews where she has lied about me having a criminal record via Claire's Law and being under investigation by police. She continued doing this for months, and these lies have been shared in many videos. Alice said that she can give updates and that people should message her directly, even though in these messages Alice said that she hadn't received any updates or heard anything from police at all. She told YouTubers she couldn't share information until everything with the false police investigation had finished.
And Alice as well, speaking to her, she does want to like come out and speak about this, like eventually after like all the police stuff, and just wants to be able to get all the information. She's got proof as well, and she wants to be able to get all that out there once she's spoken to the police properly.
This story at no point has made any sense, as Alice says that she would only post about this after the police investigation had finished.
Inherently just doesn't make sense, because she's prognosticating a potential ability to destroy him in the future. She's putting out there a tee-up for any content creator to come along to him, or to her, to attack him through her testimony as the lead victim. So that when they make content, it's like a content coverage from in FPS Diesel, Sensitive Society, whoever bigger than them could latch onto it. Let's say fucking Asmongold, Keemstar, then the T channels, and so on, until she just basically has a dossier full of content creators that are just reposting the material, and all they would have to do is just simply say, pending investigation from police. Pending investigation from police. Because for people who aren't going to look into it, or just simply going to jump onto the story, latch onto the details that they're choosing to give up, and then cast the negative opinion upon him, the same way most of us did, but with the amount of evidence that was given at the time, with almost little to no answer, it is probably what she was going for. However, this is not, say, a pro-Jared move. This isn't a case where he sat on the information to route through the argument and potentially just clear his name. Like the worst you could call him is a gooner. But you couldn't call him a gooner who did it illegally. The best you could call him is a gooner. But you can't call him a gooner who was doing it with underage children. In this situation, I'm going to make the blind read from what we already have covered from the podcast and what we know at this time. For those that don't have any idea what I'm talking about, simply go back in the past and listen to what we said on episode 6 in season 2 for the podcast. This is clearly a toxic relationship, and this is clearly an attempt from a toxic ex-partner to do as much damage to his reputation as possible, if not outright destroy his career. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree, but I don't know to what extent he's being honest.
Like, I'm not discounting him for his honesty, because he could have just simply said nothing, then tried to disappear, and everybody would have been like, we know what you did. So if we learn something new here, I'm all for it. I'm going to take the Diario position. If he's telling the truth, and he's coming as clean as he possibly can, and he's putting his hands on and his cards above the table, then he loses a year of his job and his livelihood, and can get back into content creation with everything fully exposed, and nobody can lord this over his head anymore. So, like, out of the people that are inside of his particular sphere of influence, who are involved with whatever they were involved with, people like Danger Jabot can continue to be happy that people are not going to try and hold this shit over his head, and however that connects to him. Granted, that situation is far since been resolved. But people like, say, Bionic Pig, and all the people around him who have since fucked off to their corners of the internet, they're going to either going to take this information and respond to it and give us some type of detail angle that we haven't seen, or she's going to come up with some kind of response to what he says, which we'll see what happens there, or at maximum to his detriment, if he's lying, then good riddance, fuck that guy, and now that we have the full details, we can clearly see both of them need help. Like, it doesn't end positively. There is no happy ending. It's not to say that he can't be allowed to defend himself. I'm just curious why he chose to come back specifically now, and why did she choose to withhold the information that she did. But my first suspicion is that she's doing it just simply to hurt him as much as possible. Because, what's the worst thing you can label him as a sexual assaulter, and say that he's documented as an assaulter?
Well, the problem is that he admits that he's assaulted her.
Uh-huh.
So that's already set in stone. You're already a fucking... what it is now... This is my take on after watching this.
Uh-huh.
You're still an asshole. She's still telling the truth to an extent. But her involvement was very downplayed, if what he's saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much
But then
it.
continued to say that the police were involved months after she had posted her document, which once again shows that Alice was lying the entire time. Alice claims she can provide updates to YouTubers in this tweet, but made an excuse to people she was arguing with on Twitter that the reason she couldn't provide updates to them was because of the fact that there was a police investigation.
Okay, let's read this. Bzz. Have you seen the post of her literally hitting him and strangling him playfully and he's flinching? I'm excited for his response of things, to be honest. Both are as bad as each other. On September 22, 2024, are you taking the piss? They are for videos.
Stale in the
literally
cookie,
for videos.
but fresh in the crush and the cream.
They're literally videos. He was literally joking. I'll read that in a second. He was literally joking. To sit there and say that we are as bad as each other from a bit in the video and that I don't hit him in them when he did things he did and said the things he said is disgusting. It was equal or I was just as bad. Why the fuck would I come out and talk about it for him to come back and say that? But he hasn't because he can't, because it wasn't, and because it wasn't equal, and because I was just as bad. Don't come on my own page and defend the guy that has given me PTSD for the rest of my life. Amen, praying hands. I hope one day you open your eyes to what you've actually seen. If you can tell the difference between a joke bit and the video where he's actually aggressively swinging his arms and telling me he wants to kill me, that wasn't a fucking bit in a dumb YouTube video. Just for you to dismiss everything I went through because you want to have his meat in your mouth so bad. I'm not afraid of giving you more evidence or context if you're so set on this narrative. I can easily break that down for you because if you read that statement, you'd see that I have plenty more evidence and that I can really sit because now everything with the police has been finished. Praying hands. That gives me big, okay, so just drop it. Like, that's the vibes I get there from that statement. Okay, so drop it. Supposedly you can't drop anything because you're dealing with the police. Okay, good on you. You're one of the few people who have actually gone to the police and have made a statement. So, if everything has been squared away with the police, why didn't you just drop it in the video? You're more than happy to go onto TikTok and make recordings of yourself. Drop the content on Twitter. Even if you don't have Twitter Blue, you can cut that shit up into 2 minute 20 second. Yeah, it's still 2 minutes 20 second. 2 minute 20 second handles, and then give the context to a browser depot of all the links, whether you use Google or Mega Drive or whatever file upload system you want to have, and make it public. And don't forget to make sure you leave the password off of it, unlike that one school shooter. Just drop it on the internet. Why do you even need to make a paragraph? Just post content. Boom. Done.
And that she wasn't allowed to share anything until it was finished. And that now it finally finished, she could share more information again. This makes no sense, as Alice had already shared an entire document about me and was
Boom. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Finished. And that now it finally finished, she could share more information again. This makes no sense, as Alice had already shared an entire
So yeah, June 15th, you already shared the Google document that would have had all your details in it, because I'm pretty sure that's what most of us were reading from. So, like, what do you mean you couldn't show more until after the police investigation?
document about me, and was then asking people if she could continue to share more information about me in interviews.
And this is now the 11th time he's repeated that, and then now the 3rd time he's repeated that chain of her posts saying, people contact me, I want to give you content.
Views on her Twitter that were then posted onto YouTube. Alice wrote right at the end of her document that for legal and obvious reasons, she wouldn't attach all the evidence she has, but in due time, it may be made public.
Can attest, that was there.
Not only is this not how police investigations work, but Alice has not posted more evidence since, despite saying the supposed investigation had now ended. This is because there never was an investigation, as it was a lie. It would not have been possible for Alice to share anything at all by her own admission if there actually ever was a police investigation in place. Alice has continuously lied.
He's got her there.
And claimed that this was
He does.
the only thing stopping her from releasing information, and she acknowledged this herself in this tweet and when speaking to YouTubers. The reality is, there never was a police investigation, which Alice later admitted to. This is why Alice decided to publicize a heavily edited version of events to damage my reputation with false stories and lies like alleging I'm a convicted criminal with a criminal record. I have taken my time gathering information and evidence as Alice has continued to lie about me and the abuse she put me through during our relationship, was blackmailing
Putting in a 1.5.
me and threatening me. Alice has created a one-sided narrative that does not show the reality of what happened during our relationship. Due to Alice's constant posting about me and my own personal issues, my response has been delayed many times, and all of this will be covered throughout this video. When Alice's story was questioned by people on Twitter, she responded with threats to delete my phone number, whilst also insulting me and anyone who pointed out these inconsistencies in her document. Alice would then block these people after arguing.
Go back a little quick, because he's throwing them out really fast. Okay, this one does not say the date on which it was recorded, but let's assume this is during the time period between June to September. I don't think hitting someone in a relationship can be playful. I also put in questions and makes you literally cannot hit someone playfully. You're both as bad as each other. You used disgusting racial slurs, and he flinched a few times around you. You got it all wrong. You got it all the wrong way around. Well, I think about it this way. Alex has autism and PBT. This isn't a good combo. If something else was going on behind the scenes, I don't blame Alex for acting how he did. If I was being abused, then I'd probably lash out and say something I don't mean, which as many people would. No, he doesn't, and he wasn't abused.
And the abuse she put me through during.
And then this thread, Jesus. I hope you enjoyed the show. Good night. Your hand clearly made contact with his face when you reached for him. Are you thick? I'm not taking you seriously anymore after that, Mao. I'd say Alex snapping was reasonable if you did go through trauma she gave him, which is very well way it happened, so in videos and TikToks resurfacing. I never gave him any abuse or trauma, ? Also referring to someone as a racial slur as a form of abuse. Slay. So he abused me. Thank you.
Our relationship was blackmailing me and threatening me. Alice has created a one-sided narrative that does not show the reality of what happened during our relationship. Due to Alice's constant posting about me and my own.
Then you have several different TikToks, all which show the progress of time from her hair losing the dye that she put into it, unless she re-dyed it. You can actually see the timeline upon how she continued to use this for content. I'm not interested in going onto her page to see whether or not she's gained views from this, but let's assume, because she's the victim in a narrative, that starts with her being the female victim of an abuser, that has them on tape showing them being hit. Even if it was her pushing him to get the content to use to expose him, she's still going to be the beneficiary of any sympathy and support that people give to her, along with whatever financial benefits she could get from the people who are sending her said support, male or female.
Own personal issues. My response has been delayed many times, and all of this will be covered throughout this video. When Alice's story was questioned by people on Twitter, she responded with threats.
Then, August 16th, 17th. It's really something I always manage to say so sure of yourself, even when your points don't quite add up. I guess that's a skill most people don't have, but I'm genuinely curious. How did you manage to stay so certain that everyone else is wrong and you're always correct? If you wanted to suck off Alex so bad, I can give you a number.
Delete my phone number.
Then it's still the 17th. When the conversation doesn't go your way, out come the dismissive insults. Why? Because why actually engage when you can just shut people down, right? It must be always nice to have a fallback plan when things get tough. Yap, 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 you're arguing with yourself here, darling. I only offered you his number. Impressive how you've managed to dodge every question asked. You've turned to avoiding accountability into an art form by first playing the victim, then claiming it was all a joke. And now by shifting the focus back onto yourself, it's as if your experiences are the only ones that matter.
But was also insulting me and any.
You've gone above and beyond for this on 4 to 5 accounts, which I'm honestly quite flattered about. You took it personal as soon as you became an Alex fan and started replying to me with arguments and defending him in the comments because you want to suck him off so bad. Good luck finding it. So yes, I will fuck with you, idiot. Use your brain. Assuming that this is a person using multiple accounts to speak to them, I would like to see the evidence that she has for it. Otherwise, it just looks like it's an open-shut dismissal of, hey, I'm asking you questions about your narrative. I'm not going to respond to those. Why aren't you responding to them? That sounds like something that has something to hide would do. Lol, I have nothing to hide. Like, I posted everything. So why is it that you can't be able to clarify the timeline? Lol, you're just mad that I won't give you what you want. You just want to fuck him. Cope by any other name.
Anyone who pointed out these inconsistencies in.
That one went back quick.
All of this will be covered throughout this video. When Alice's story was questioned by people on Twitter, she responded with threats to delete my phone number, whilst also insulting me and anyone who pointed out these.
Then, bitches be wildin', babyface. Oh, I forgot to ask you that question on a random tweet about Alex. I was like, why is this bitch getting sassy with me out of nowhere? So sorry, didn't know giving information on something I thought it was regarding him was sassy. You're easily manipulated, lol. You've been manipulated by her. She's a classic narcissistic abuser. Once they broke up, she posted loads of TikToks saying I'm genuinely insane and will ruin your life forever while smiling, and then deleted them and started playing the victim. I never posted that. You're in La La Land. Your hand clearly made contact with his face when you reached for him. Are you thick? I'm not taking you serious anymore. Clearly, those screenshots we just read some of. Some of these are new. Some of these are repeated from things he's already posted. However, let's go off of what this Izzy account's saying. Because we know that there are TikToks that have existed and were posted by her, specifically referencing the situation, thus to get clout and fame off of it because she was posting it as it was happening, it is likely that there were screenshots and there were TikToks that she made, that she posted, and then deleted, so that people could see what her effect and what her outcome was, and probably supported her off that. Because it's a common tactic. So, White Savannah commonly does this when she chooses to dox people on Twitter. That, I guess, most recent, I don't even know. Sometimes Primate just ends up fighting new crazies every time. The last crazy that we had watched from the content that Primate had covered, featuring the guy who tattooed himself on the face, who was basically faking his own roast threads. That's a similar tactic that many of them will use as well. It's what most of the bully content creators like Modern Warrior had used throughout the majority of the platform. It is highly likely that she did, and she's just playing stupid. Because it's the same thing that other content creators would do on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter as well, especially in the age of the Google Note readout. So I'm not going to say it's 100% confirmed, but until I see something that shows it as not true, I'm going to believe that it must be true. That it's possible, and if it were not the case, why would she need to say it? If it's not true, she doesn't even have to address it. The thing she chooses to address gives me the intonation that it must have happened.
These inconsistencies in her document. Alice would then block these people after arguing and insulting them.
And then she's doing, the basic troll shit. She is riling people up.
She responded with threats to leak my own personal issue, also insulting me and anyone who lies that Alice had made. Alice changed her Google document multiple times.
So she's changing the document.
To hide these criticisms,
and she was also...
Twitter. She responded with threats to leak my phone number, whilst also insulting me and anyone who pointed out these inconsistencies in her document. Alice would then block...
Then she's getting started with people and antagonizing them and then blocking them when she responds to them. Meaning, if somebody came along with a really good argument and then somebody else noticed that argument and they asked the question that she tried to block from them because, oh my god, well, she's blocked me, they'll take her argument and if that is what she means by you've made multiple accounts, well, yes, of course I made multiple accounts. When I asked you this question, you tried to dodge it, so why are you still dodging my question? Or, the more likely version, which is very common whenever people do this, which is they see the topic and they see the talking point, they take the most viral response that people had made, and they repeat their question, asking, hey, single player Carl asked you, why didn't you do this? Well, I blocked that guy, he's a troll. Interesting. So, can you answer his question? And just somebody takes the argument and they rewrite it in their own words, and effectively we keep asking the question until we get a response. So, when Destiny and all of his audience in the Dalaban chose to hit up Saint in the Center, after he said the lie, I know how to write an NFT from the command line, and everybody just kept trolling the shit out of him on his space because he was desperate to try to silence Destiny when he didn't get what he wanted out of him with his railroad, it's the same tactic. It seems highly likely to me that's what she was doing. She was trying to antagonize people and rile them up to say, look how many toxic fans he has in the mentions, but there were people asking legitimate questions, so she had to make all of them look like they were crazies.
Block these people after arguing and insulting.
TLDR, she's a clout-chasing whore.
Yep. She claims all of this is all the same person. I don't think it is. Like, I would like to think that a person would be making that many bot accounts, but no. I don't think that all of those users are the same person. You could say they could have a script coming up with first name followed by single letter followed by series of letters, but let's say the screenshots we currently see here of the account names here, let's say that Ian Selman made a botnet, and all of these are his bot accounts. If all of the bot accounts have the similar argument, have the similar typing, have similar spelling, then it would be likely. But we can clearly see across any of the thumbnails and any of the pictures that we see, that's not the case. So is LG Fangirl also in the list of the blocked? I don't see them. Same with the other one that was called, let's see here. It just so happens to be the ones I'm clicking across aren't showing up on the screen.
By people on Twitter.
Is LE457818 also one of the bots from him or her? I don't think so.
Responded with threats to delete my phone number, whilst also insulting
So whatever is happening here, it's not what she says it is. She's clearly clout chasing.
me and anyone who pointed out these inconsistencies in her document. Alice would then block these people after arguing and insulting them for replying to her posts as they were highlighting many of the inconsistencies.
And then
anyone who pointed out these inconsistencies in her document. Alice would then block these people after arguing and insulting them for
then you've got her responses on Twitter, and then the responses she's typing as her post description on TikTok. I can't express enough. Go use my code for free Temu, blah, 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 blah. Just a little vent. If you have an issue with me posting about my situation in Healing Journey, guess what? You don't have to see it. Click off my page. Block me. Stop typing that negative comment on a fake account that will be deleted and blocked anyways. I share my thoughts and feelings, ... So, that's already got you in my shit list in my book. You're explicitly changing and deleting comments because they are critical of you and your narrative. That already makes you wrong in my book. That's foul. It isn't like a case of somebody who clearly is trying to troll you because they want to try to get the last word and the last laugh, which even then, it's kind of like on or off. In this case, since it's about your abuse story, people would probably justify it. Most people would be like, well, I want to see what the comment was. What did they say? Yeah, not looking good for her.
Replying to her posts as they were highlighting many of the inconsistencies and lies Alice had made. Alice changed her Google document multiple times to hide these criticisms, and has cropped messages that showed her using the same racial slurs that she had accused me of bringing in.
Okay, this is from Beckett. Cope can see this Beckett. That Beckett's his first name, right? Not relevant. Anyways.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So I was pulling apart the document and got dropped on ImAllexx and noticed that there were a few screenshots that were cropped. Interestingly, they were cropped within the doc itself. So Google preserved the rest of the image, which I was able to extract. Here they are uncropped. I write in my statement multiple times that I became reckless with my use of language because this is so normalized by Alex. I'm well aware this doesn't excuse my use of the word, but it is an honest explanation. If it was an honest explanation, you wouldn't need to crop the pictures. The fuck? I apologize for any offense caused by this. This was on June 17th. So...
Cropping pictures means that you're trying to hide something.
Yeah. There's no reason for you to have cropped it in your original footage, which means any person who went off your information, which includes us, you inherently tried to manipulate the narrative on the inset before you even went on to go to talk to people on their platforms. So this was very much you trying desperately to fucking hide it. Because now you can see the difference on how she communicates to the people she thinks she can get away with it from, and the people that are going to catch her in real time that understand information like metadata searching and information retainment. She speaks one way to one type of person, and then to someone with a large platform, large in this case meaning they have something to benefit from reporting the story, and they're seeking to give the best version they can. Against those people, she'll show up saying, there's a reason. I wasn't trying to lie. Fuck that noise. Fuck that noise.
Into our relationship, as it directly contradicted her story. This was unacceptable behavior, and I deeply regret using such horrific language, and this will be further addressed in the...
I don't believe you, Alex, but you know what? I am finna hold you on that right now. Tell me the rest.
This video. Alice has erased any evidence that these events had taken place or that she had been at any point abusive physically, verbally, or emotionally towards me, and this proceeds throughout her entire document, which has since been edited multiple times, which was pointed out by a user on Twitter. Alice...
Now, I understand why he's reposting the images here. When he is giving an example of the behavior, that's where he's posting the images, and this is what's causing him to reuse them the most. I would just use new pictures, like, establish the beginning of her actions, and then every time you have to refer that she's doing it, show the one that you did before with a new one, and then rotate out the old pictures with new examples of her doing the thing that she's still doing. So if you show the first ones over and over again, it gives the implication that she may have done it maybe once to maybe 5 times, and you're circulating between those examples because that's all you have on hand. Whereas if you've been collecting information, then you would just have an entire dossier. And you could start the timeline of, here's where she started lying when she tried to expose me with the document, and people started covering the information in her Google Doc. And here's where she's still lying to this day. I think that would have been a lot more effective.
Alice's entire
But certainly he probably did all of this editing by himself, and, you know, how do you best figure out how to save yourself from problems? If you are a guy who's just known for talking about things and you've never had to do a expose counter dossier.
entire story has been built on lies, and in this video I will be showing screenshot evidence that directly refutes the claims that she has made against me, as Alice intentionally left out hundreds of text conversations that would disprove her stories and false narrative that she has created. Instead, it would show that Alice had been abusing me for our entire relationship, and that she has not stopped harassing me for the last year. Alice has made
Go back and read those.
and false narrative that she has created. Instead, it would show that Alice had been abusing me for our entire relationship, and that she has not stopped harassing me for the last
year. Okay, sad post. It's been almost a year, and it feels like it's yesterday. Equals 3. What is he doing now? Is he working in a Tesco? No, he's working for YouTubers behind the scenes. They know who they know who they are. Awful. I hope they get what they deserve too. That was 11/10/24. So in November, she was still posting about him. October 6th, Cataclysms. Funny how that comes around. Cataclysms, being a content creator, is knowing you want to expose some people so bad, but you know their ass is going to sue you, so you're forced to sit silently. I'll do it. Kennedy Taylor to Alex Hez, and then back and forth. 11/11. Are you able to point me in the right direction to find out myself? I really don't want to be supporting his creators. Every commentator YouTuber that uses the same thumbnail template as him. I'll speak no more. I appreciate you. So, here's a wonderful connection. Remember Cataclysms chat? Who was the female contributor alongside Lewis McClung in trying to shit on Danky Jabot? Here's a case example of them trying to tee up a story against them, and Alice being responsible for probably the reason why they went about attacking him in the first place. Oh, he's still working with people behind the scenes. Who could it be? People who use his similar thumbnail style. That explains one of those narrative points that Lewis tried to use as an example for why he should be attacked. Basically, if you were a TikTok girly, and you were in the mentions going back and forth with him, Alice was basically setting the dogs on him and anyone he was connected to, and then hoping she could clean her hands. Because, hey, you're only looking at the YouTube posts. You're only looking at the Twitter posts. Who has time to go through hundreds and hundreds of messages that she's got on her TikToks? Heinous level shit. Let's read that thumbnail. Take my money, Carl. Have a good show. Thank you. Thank you, Mariner.
year. Alice has made tweets stating that I do not have any trauma from our relationship together and that she never hit me. These
So those are the same repeated screenshots.
statements are untrue, and in fact Alice admits to slapping me and pushing me in another in her own document. Alice had
Those are from the document that he cropped himself.
also been kicking me, which she admitted to me on Facebook Messenger after she had lied that I was on Claire's Law. And all of this will be
I don't believe we ever had messages inside the document that came from Facebook Messenger, did we?
I don't fucking remember.
I don't remember the color of the text font, so my brain's telling me that it's a new.
Alice admits to slapping me and pushing me in another in her own document. Alice had also been
I didn't just randomly start kicking you. Can you play the whole thing? I didn't kick you multiple times that hard. I probably pushed you away, and we can text. I'm trying, but like, question mark, but okay, we can talk about this after. I didn't start randomly kicking you for no reason. And I'm sorry, and we would have gone in more detail. I'm just a mess, okay? I know we were arguing. I did something. I can't remember what. Something dumb, like I was in bed naked. And you told me to sleep downstairs, and I ignored you.
kicking me, which she admitted to me on Facebook Messenger after she had lied that
For talking about shit you did, question mark, or it's because of everything over the years it's built on. Yeah, period. I don't want you to think that I want to be a victim. I don't want to be perceived. I don't want to be seen. I want to be alone, and truly alone. I don't want friends. I remember pushing you away from me. I didn't just go ahead and start kicking hard to you. I don't want messages. But yeah, it was probably uncalled for.
I was on Claire's Law. And all of this will be covered separately throughout this video. Alice has done all of this despite claiming she was never physically abusive at any
Same ones reposted again.
point in our relationship, which is a lie, as Alice was physically abusing me regularly, which she has hidden and now lied about publicly. Alice also posted a series of tweets and argument on Twitter.
This might be the same Nicole we just saw her talking to, but I don't think it is. I have an unrelated question. When you said Bo Black said he had BPD, did you mean bipolar disorder? Because that's what mania is usually associated with. BPD is borderline personality disorder. Totally different. Just wanted some clarification. He doesn't have BPD and never been diagnosed. Hope that helps. I never said he had it. I wanted to know exactly what he claimed to have. But thanks for the info, BPD Queen. Anytime, Nicole. Oh, I forgot I asked you that question on a random tweet about Alex. I was like, why is this bitch getting sassy with me out of nowhere? So sorry. So we saw this one earlier. Now we know that this is connected to something else. So she was even teeing up against people who were asking questions who would have been sympathetic to her that she decided must have been trying to attack her. So she was just having it out with everybody. So sorry, bitch, didn't know giving information on something was regarding was sassy. Maybe Alex was right all along. Can you not take what you give? Keep to tweeting about ketchup and then being a dickhead for no reason. Thumbs down.
Stating that I do not have BPD, also known as borderline personality disorder. Alice has even gone as far as diagnosing me as a narcissist in her document.
This I do remember from the document. There's so much I could talk about. Really don't want to relive any longer. This was an awful toxic relationship. I should have left 2 months in knowing and finding out the kind of person he actually is. But that's what happens when a narcissist meets an empath. There's a dangerous statement if you've ever seen one, chat. They feed off it. I had communicated my best, made them aware of what made me uncomfortable, and it wasn't listened to.
And she claimed that she is an empath. I was diagnosed by my psychiatrist with what they believe to be emotionally unstable.
Oh, boy! After the boogie arc, it's so good to see somebody post medical hospital documentation from the NHS. Fuck! Alright, private and confidential. Dear blank, patient, Alex... Really, that's his last name? Elmsmill? Elmsley. Elmsley. Alex Elmsley. Okay, whatever. Alex Elmsley, date of birth, blah, 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 blah. Diagnostic. Ventolin. IDs for certification. Requirements for take. History of presenting for the complaint. The reason for the assessment. Who I was glad to assess Mr. Alex, who self-referred to me upon concern of mood instability and anxiety. Okay, so he committed himself. He was never forced to be committed. Forensic history shows that he never engaged with antisocial behaviors. Neither the police were ever involved. A history of drug use, past history of consistent misuse of cannabis, and binge drinking. I've redacted family medical psychiatry records, mental state examination. Alex engaged... One second. There we go. Alex engaged well with the interview and a good relationship was maintained throughout the assessment. He spontaneously answered to all the questions asked, blinked. At the time of the interview, his mood appeared to be subjectively and objectively eurythmic with reactive effect. During the assessment, no free-floating or salmon-eated anxiety was objectivable. Words are hard for my mouth, chat. Sleep was described poor in quantity, and he had claimed having a reduced concentration. He disclosed past binge drinking as a form of self-harm. He experienced some fleeting suicidal thoughts in the past, denied current thoughts or present or past actual intent or plan. His friends and family were protective factors. There appeared not to be present through insertion, broadcasting, or withdrawal, neither perceptual disturbances. Oriented in time, space, and person with acceptable insight to his condition that, although not always able to articulate the reason for the assessment, he appeared genuine when he reported he needed to address his rage outbursts and the emotional instability. Risk assessment safeguarding. Risk to self, blanked, past binge drinking. Risk to others, denied present past history of physical aggression to others. Past history, verbal aggression to former girlfriend. Risk from others. Risk to others was from others. No current risk, past relationship with abusive partner. Diagnostic formulation and plan. Redacted. I believe I was able to gather a good amount of Alex's personal history. Who the fuck typed this? Alex's personal history and mental state. Since the end of his relationship, his mental state appears to have massively improved. Redacted. With a marked reactivity of mood, engaged in intensive interpersonal relationships, and being very sensitive to environmental circumstances with low tolerance to frustration, period. As a matter redacted, he also described inappropriate anger outbursts, and such episodes were followed by feelings of guilt and shame, period. Redacted. In summary, therefore, I believe that Alex might be affected from emotionally unstable personality disorder. A discussion was held on symptoms and presentation with this disorder, and I explained to Alex that BPD is a serious mental health condition with complex needs for which he should be under the care of a community mental health team in order to receive the most appropriate treatment with a multidisciplinary approach. The discussion was also held how there were no medications approved for the treatment of this disorder, but there were broad consensus on psychotherapy, namely DBT or MBT, as the primary treatment for borderline disorder. Hence, I recommended for Alex to be referred to local mental health teams so that the most blank.
Personality disorder, also known as borderline personality disorder. I was then referred to my local community mental health.
This is the continuation of that bottom line. but he just highlights it here.
Team after the diagnosis from my psychiatrist. The claim that I haven't been diagnosed with BPD is untrue. Alice has made multiple tweets spreading false information about my medical history, whilst continuing to lie during these arguments she has online regarding me. Alice replied to a tweet which she believed was about me, where she denied that I have BPD, as she thought the original tweet was in defense of me. When it was pointed out the tweets were not about me, and that they were about another YouTuber, Alice tried to justify her ongoing post lying about me as simply sharing.
Okay, so here comes along Nicholas Fiorio to say to her, "Hey Alice, I think the person you responded to was asking me about a person named Josh from a separate situation, not Alex. Oops, seen a lot of people say similar things, so I thought I'd clear it up. My bad." So what I'm interested in is, did she have the knowledge of this information at the time that this was done? Because the information on the document says ex-girlfriend.
Not have BPD, also known as borderline personality disorder. Alice has even gone as far as diagnosing me as a narcissist in her document, and she claimed that she is an empath. I was diagnosed by my psychiatrist.
So, the clinic date was literally 6 days before most of this kicked off. This says clinic date was the 3rd, but the information was typed on the 5th. Cross-referencing. So, June 21st, June 11th, June 16th. I think the beginning of a lot of this popped off on June 11th, don't you think? So, June versus July. Did they break up in June or July? I'm going to go off of thinking that they must have done it in July. Or it could have been June and then she didn't release it until July. Either way, this document predates the brouhaha reaching the majority of us by at least 2 weeks and a half. So, if she was told about this, it would have been them being in communication with each other after the lead up and the bleed off. I'm going to lean on the fact that she probably had some knowledge of this information, but she didn't believe that he actually got tested. That's my best faith interpretation that I'm going to give at the moment.
With what they believe to be emotionally unstable personality disorder, also known as borderline personality disorder. I was then referred to my local community mental health team after the diagnosis from my psychiatrist. The claim that I haven't been diagnosed with BPD is untrue. Alice has made multiple tweets spreading false information about my medical history, whilst continuing to lie during these arguments she has online regarding me. Alice replied to a tweet which she believed was about me, where she denied that I have BPD, as she thought the original tweet was in defense of me. When it was pointed out the tweets were not about me, and that they were about another YouTuber, Alice tried to justify her ongoing posts lying about me as simply sharing information.
Also, this is another case example of her playing friendly when she's having to answer to somebody who has some clout that they could throw around on the topic again.
Even though nobody had asked, and she had said she wasn't going to post about me after the document was released due to the police investigation that she had lied about. Alice has continued to try and remain in control of the narrative surrounding me and my life for the last 12 months by spreading many lies, including this one. Alice has opened her document by saying that I will make a contradicting response to the allegations that she has made against me, and that after posting her statement she can move.
This is a sensitive subject to me. Figure out the words threatened by Alex not to come with anything at all. Keep quiet, create a contradicting story to discredit my own, but I'm not scared anymore. I know what is said in response to the statement. I know my piece, and I can move on with my life. It's very likely that that's just her, again, trying to prep the bed for Needles. Because if he was being told about it, he would obviously say something to the effect of, if you lie about me, I'm going to tell them the truth. So this is her just rewriting his words to make him sound sinister.
Move on with her life. But this was a lie, as Alice has continued to post about me many times online to this day, as I have shown and will show throughout this video. Alice claimed that
that one was new. That was February 28th, 2005.
But this was a lie, as Alice has continued to post about me many times online to this day.
Andrew, February 26th. It should be the same way for men in an abusive relationship with women. I honestly do feel sympathy for you in this situation. It's really shitty, but I'm tired of seeing men go through similar situations, being ignored. We go through as much abusive shit as women do. 100% never said men do not go through this too. In this case, I do not want any women to go through this, meaning specifically harm him And I said, when men do this, they should be called out. And yes, of course, when women do this, they should also be called out. It is the same. Here's my problem with that, Alice. By you choosing to fuck with the story, you are inherently doing it a disservice. Just like that girl tried to do to victims by trying to have her cake and eat it too when she didn't get the things to go in her way for the book talk affair. You are putting all those women underneath your feeling for revenge rather than putting them ahead of yourself and paying it forward so that they may receive justice and assistance and answers about the truth of what they deal with. Because your personal feelings, as much as you want revenge against him, shouldn't mean that you're then going out of your way to create lies about him. Because the more that you add shit on, the more it makes Alex look better. Not only because if he's telling the truth, he doesn't know how to lie, but if he exposes you as speaking half-truths, full half-lies, full lies, and precipitated lies that have malice and intent, you are doing nothing but granting him the vehicle upon which to rebuild his platform in his career. And if he rebuilds himself because he's able to walk away saying, listen, we know I put my hands on the bitch, but listen, she lied to y'all motherfuckers. Even though I don't want to give him the space and time of breath, I can't say he's fucking wrong, now can I? It's like, look, you slapped her. Yeah, but she was going to stab me with a knife. Who are you going to believe? Me and your lying eyes. I mean, I got a videotape right here that shows that you were lying. I can play this shit on feedback if you want to. You're kind of fucking your own case up, Alice. All while also saying, I believe victims. Victims don't do shit like this. Well, some victims would do this if they care more about revenge than they do about justice. But that remains to be seen to believe. We're only 11 minutes in.
As I've shown and will show throughout this video. Alice claimed that I threatened her not to come forward with her story and repeats this when talking with YouTube commentary channels. Alice shows no proof of this, and that is because this is the exact opposite, as Alice had been threatening and blackmailing me throughout our relationship.
Goddamn, that's a lot of flips. I'm not going to go back on those. But I'm very certain all of these are already in the document.
And months after it had ended. I had told my friends that Alice had been hitting me. Alice denied this on text when she found out and threatened to sue me if I continued to tell people she had been hitting me throughout our relationship. Alice says that my story will contradict hers, and that's because Alice knows our relationship is not how she has portrayed it online. Alice has lied constantly, and I can prove this with the text evidence that she is intentionally not included, as it contradicts her own story. Alice says we had a huge fight, where I dragged her, covered her mouth, and put her...
We had the worst arguments I ever experienced with anyone, but after the mood it became even worse. On the 4th day of living together, on the 19th of October, he had taken it to the next level and got physical in a fight. It started as a screaming argument where I begged him to leave me alone and to just stop. I ended up trying to get away from him and he followed me. I went to walk downstairs and he grabbed my hood and pulled me back until I fell on the floor. He told me that I'm not getting away and I got up and I made a run for the bathroom. He gets in my way and grabs me, puts me in a headlock and covers my mouth because I'm screaming for him to get off of me. I go to the bathroom and I locked it behind me and he screams from the other side calling me crazy, telling me to leave the house after I've asked him to leave me alone. So are we breaking out a video, or do you know this person? I've reported this news story in the past, as can be seen in the chat from the post I had put forward again. I'm assuming that you're speaking on Twitch, so we will post that again for you for your benefit. That particular link that's about to pop up next to my name on the left side of the screen is a report that we had done in the past on ImAllexx. This is a go-through of his document that is publicly posted on YouTube, and we are going through the document to see whether or not his story fully debunks the things that he's dealing with and has reported on.
In a headlock, and that this happened on the 19th of October, a few days after we had moved in with each other. There are no texts from this time that even suggest that we were fighting or had been in a fight, and that's because this did not happen. On the 19th of October, Alice asked me to call, and the next text message was Alice asking me to sort out my bike in the garage. Later that same day, Alice asked me what's happening, and I tell her the cat shut.
If it ever does pop up on the fucking side, it's supposed to have already shown up already. That's weird. I need to reset the bot. Should be multi-alerts and chat. It's gonna make that chat disappear.
Shut me in the cupboard because I was fixing our heating, and then that night we texted about packages arriving the next day. At 1 past midnight, Alice tells me she'd made me pizza, and on the 20th of October, Alice asked me what I want from the shop, and then we go on to talk about buying Pokemon cards. The claim we had a huge fight where I'd physically assaulted Alice is a lie. I never did these things Alice has accused me of doing, because this never happened. Alice has texted her mum, and used this as proof that this event had taken place after screenshotting the text in real time, as the messages display the words today instead of the date that they were taken. Alice knew she would be using them in her document, and that she had been planning this full story about me. Alice has used these texts to make it seem like I'd physically assaulted her, when this never happened. This isn't the only time Alice has used similar proof to claim something had happened which had never taken place at all, and she does this many times in her document. Alice provided a list of events that she had written herself directly into her notes app as evidence, and has attached them to her document as proof. But Alice was still writing these stories after she had said that she had moved out, which shows that these were written at a later date retroactively for this document. Anyone could have written down anything on any date and claimed that it was true. Writing down words into a notes app can be done at any time, and is in no way, shape, or form proof that something happened. The texts between us from that time reflect a totally different story that Alice has not included in her document, even though she provided an exact date of the day this had apparently taken place. Instead, Alice has fabricated a story entirely, and has accused me of being physically abusive to hide the fact that she had been slapping, punching, and kicking me throughout our relationship.
Again, that's a lot of immediate shows, but this, he definitely has her dead to rights here. There's no way that he can make this shit up. This is her manufacturing the story, and then posting that story in revision, post-edit, so that people would believe her story more.
Instead, Alice has fabricated a story entirely, and has accused me of being physically abusive to hide the fact that she had been slapping, punching, and kicking me throughout our relationship, something that she had tried to hide from her document, and has lied about on Twitter publicly. At no point has this story ever been consistent, as Alice said that this happened on the 4th day that we moved in with each other in her document and in her notes app, but then it texted me that it happened on the 2nd. And to be clear, the text messages from the 17th of October also show that this was not the case. Alice started to accuse me of being physically abusive with her after I had asked her multiple times to stop her constant physical attacks on me. Because these continued, I had asked to break up. The first time Alice ever mentioned that this assault had apparently happened was when we were in an argument on the day we broke up, and I told her to leave the house. Alice accused me of grabbing her and said she could prove that this had happened because she had written down the date in her notes app, and then started to blackmail me and threaten me that she would go to the police and start calling me an abuser. I denied this ever happening and explained how it disturbed me that Alice was trying to gaslight me into believing that this had taken place. I had asked Alice not to come back to the house and that I would leave her stuff in the garage because I wanted to break up and I didn't want her near me anymore, and she had been assaulting me and threatening me since we had started dating. When Alice had left the house, I finally thought I could escape our relationship and that I wouldn't have to see her again. This is when Alice began to start blackmailing me and threatening me because I was asking her to stay away. Alice told me that she was going to come back and that she was only gone for a night. When I told Alice I didn't want her to come back, she accused me of physically abusing her. Alice then threatened to report this lie to the police to stop me from trying to leave our relationship. I knew that now, if I tried to leave, Alice would accuse me of physically abusing her, as she had used this to get me to back down from trying to end our relationship in this conversation. The false accusations and police threats were the final straw. I did not want to be blackmailed again into staying in our relationship. Alice continued to insist that I had assaulted her in our argument over text, but as I've shown, we were completely fine on the 19th of October because this fight never took place. Alice has created this story because she'd been threatening me throughout our entire relationship with ruining my life and career, and she knew she could bully me into submission and control me with these accusations and threats. Alice had told me that she had recorded me during my manic episodes, and when I'd reacted to the constant threats and physical attacks in our relationship. Alice...
That's just fucking heinous. So she has a history of basically using the good old girlfriend tactic to emotionally manipulate and bully him into making decisions. Otherwise, she'll do anything possible to destroy him, his reputation, and then ensure that she destroys his reputation in triplicate. This inherently makes me believe that she's done this to other men. Maybe even women.
Alice would threaten to post these videos when I tried to leave and when we argued. I felt that I had no choice but to stay when Alice threatened me. Alice has carefully selected these screenshots to hide me denying the physical abuse and to paint a completely different story, which is untrue. In the full thread that Alice hasn't shown, I told Alice that I'd only tried to hug her, as I was not talking about grabbing Alice at all at any point.
Okay. Pull it up. All of these seem to have been screenshotted at the same time, but they of course are from in different timeline of events, but unfortunately he doesn't have the type of app, because I'm pretty sure he uses an iPhone, that will write down the date that it posts itself at. So, conversation from left to right. Goodbye, because you don't talk to me. I told you to calm down. Put your hands on me because I was screaming, maybe stop doing what you were doing? Question mark. So I just said don't do it. Fuck off. That's all I said. Bye. Fucking excuses to do that. Asshole. That's not what I said. What the fuck? Bye. I didn't say that. See, this is why you should call me and not text, because I can't talk properly on here. Or type fast enough. We're having two different conversations. This is so stressful for no reason. This is so simple. I did stop. I was walking away. The only reason I started screaming was because you dragged me on the floor, idiot. I was trying to get away from you arguing with me, and you do that. I was talking about hugging you. Made it worse. Yes, I'll scream after that. Ellipses. Idiot. Scared me to shit. Idiot.
Point in the conversation that she has tried to misrepresent. And when we discuss this at a later date, Alice says that I'd
This is from the statement. I always questioned why she used a black person's picture for her name. Anyways. Cut off message. I had to stop you somehow. Goodbye, because you don't talk to me. I told you to calm down. Put your hands on me. Fuck off. Asshole, do that. That's not what I said. What the fuck? I didn't. I tried hugging you. I'm not the sofa at all. Because your chick me wasn't going to stay that night near you. Now don't remember what you did. Okay, so, you know what you did. Then you got up. Don't say I didn't try and walked off. So now, we see the opposite side of the conversation from her viewpoint versus the side that he has offered for her. Clearly, she left this information out. So, he has you dead to rights on just manipulating the information that's available in public for everybody to have. So you inherently manipulated your document to make yourself seem like you are the absolute victim that had no hand in the toxic environment you were creating. If he is toxic, you are toxic too. This is maybe the 6th example of it happening.
I told Alice I'd only tried to hug her, as I was not talking about grabbing Alice at all at any point in the conversation that she has tried to misrepresent. And when we discussed this at a later date, Alice says that I had hugged her and that I had walked away to avoid us fighting, which is not what she's tried to portray in her document at all. In one argument, Alice accused me of dragging her again, to which I sent her a voice message where I told her that it didn't happen.
I'm so confused here, Alice. Like, this morning, I was just trying to talk to you normally. I tried to call you, tried to have a normal conversation, and you escalate it to this. I don't understand. I don't understand, like, why this? Why does it have to be this? Why can you just let me talk to you, like, have just a normal conversation today? Why did you, like, do you want it to be this? I don't want to fight you. I don't want to have fights with you. I don't want to have angry text messages with you. And I also don't want to be accused of doing stuff that I haven't done.
So, just like how Danky Jabot wanted to have a text conversation in voicemail, back and forth when he was being asked questions, and Cataclysms wanted to try and basically take everything he had and then expose it to the internet as a evil, I get what I want anyways, example. It seems that she's also a subscriber of the I refuse to have chats with you unless I can be able to dispose the evidence and the information the way that I want. So anytime he texted with her, she inherently only wanted to use text and never wanted to have a conversation that was recorded on tape or on camera, because even if it made him look bad, it would actually show the event as it happened and not the way that she edited it, even if she took that clip and then clip-chipped it. Because by cutting it out, she would have lost the context, so people would have been wondering, oh, in this situation that just starts up with him somehow being in a struggle with you, what happened beforehand? Because the clip is only this much long, but you only showed us 2 minutes of it. And then the full clip shows how she tries to create a manipulative presentation of it. And if he has examples of like that happening, she's double fucked to rights. As we can see here on the document, he can actually push down the message, and you can see here what it says. So, from the version she had, assuming that this is not the same one, but edited, she didn't probably play this at all, and also probably clipped this so that it had the show more on.
Alice then mocked me because I brought up her slapping me. Alice texted me in response saying, "You're mad if you want to say I'd slap you," even though Alice has now admitted she slapped me from the document that she posted. In these texts, I said that Alice pushed me away and gave me shit 24/7, to the point where I didn't want to sleep in the same bed as her. At this point, we were sending messages at the exact same time. This makes it look like we were responding to each other, but we were sending these messages simultaneously, as shown in these screenshots. When I said that Alice can't go around screaming in our house, it was because it was attached to the message where I was explaining why I had started to sleep downstairs because she would punch, kick, and scream at me, so I'd been forced to sleep on the sofa. Because we lived in a rented house, I didn't want to be evicted because of the constant arguments and screaming when I would sleep upstairs. Alice has
That makes sense. That's acceptable.
cropped these messages intentionally to hide the entire context of this conversation. Alice has not only not shown these texts from when this apparent fight took place, but has now cut around messages to portray a story which is untrue. Alice hit me many times throughout our relationship, and this happened consistently from the moment that we started dating. Alice would use physical violence when I refused to do as she had asked, and this is something she admitted to in a conversation on Facebook Messenger. When I brought up that she had been assaulting me throughout our relationship, Alice responded by saying that any girl would have done the same. Alice also went on to send me a message, which too in a conversation on Facebook Messenger.
That's a high accusation. Any girl would abuse him and then lie about it on the internet for clout?
When I brought up that she had been assaulting me throughout our relationship,
Way to put down other women who have been victims and haven't done that, you asshat.
Bitch, no. Bitch, no. I've been pissed at my husband many times. Never have I ever resorted to laying hands on him. Ever. Ever. Now, my ex is another story, but that's because he was a cheating asshole that I literally caught doing some really nasty things. He deserved it.
The amount of times that I've caught women cheating on me, I never thought to decide to give them the little taste of the black snake moan. It's just not the thing that's in my head, bro.
Oh, no. In my case with my ex, it was justified to smack the shit out of him.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't smack shit out of somebody. The shit that she's claiming that she's willing to do to other people, any woman would be willing to set you up and make you look as evil as possible. Again, this is the same shit that happened with the fucking book talk affair. You do not care about victims. You care about how making yourself look good gets you more clout.
Happy true.
Because it's true, isn't going to make us right. And people are seeing you for you. And you said you slapped me yesterday. Yes, I slapped your face one time. Name a girl who hasn't slapped a huge asshole. I was dreadful. I know I was. And I'm ashamed of everything. But coming after my life. At your defense, my girlfriend slapped me after I abused her. You said you slapped me. Have I lied to you here? You dragged me, put me in headlocks, and kicked me. Say sorry publicly. I don't care what you want to do. Wait, no. IDK. I don't know what you want to do. It's not like I've confirmed it's about you or named you or gone after and made a video on you. But you did do that. Or is this as she's going through it before she dropped the document? Because even then, you went out of your way to go to name, shame, and expose as much as you possibly could that you had your hand on that you were willing to use against him. So that's just a lie, Alex. Excuse me, Alice.
Alice responded by saying that any girl would have done the same. Alice also went on to send me a message where she said that her kicking me was probably uncalled for. I messaged Alice about her assaulting me on Facebook after she had posted TikToks calling me an abuser and lied that I was on Claire's law and under a police investigation. I questioned why Alice was doing this when she had been physically assaulting me throughout our relationship. I told her because of this, I would have to defend myself because of the
This is probably the worst thing he's done and keeps doing. He keeps zooming through these screenshots. Now this one, we've already seen before.
Where she said that her kicking me was probably uncalled for. I messaged Alice about her assaulting me on Facebook after she had posted TikToks calling me an abuser and lied that I was on Claire's law and under a police investigation. I questioned.
Each one of these goes by so fast. Like you're trying to make me sound like I'm abusive to you or anything. You want me to explain now? Why even say it? Because you're literally saying she used to hit me. She used to hit me all the time. That's you. You said that. Why say that? I didn't. Do you know what kills me? Reading what you're sending. Why I say that is I understood when we fought that there was other stuff going on and I felt bad for you, for everything.
Why Alice was doing this when
Okay, this is just the further of the conversation. For everything, and I saw your fight with your brother and it broke me. All I had going on was you, having to get in the way of the two of you. We know that's not true and it's really upsetting to me that we are going to pretend now. I don't even get to think about anything else in my life right now. I don't want to have this conversation. I don't want to have this conversation if we can't be honest. Question mark, question mark. This is really making me so incredibly sad. You've gone completely off topic. And I'm going to throw up. No, I'm not.
she had been physically assaulting.
This is complicated. I asked why say it. There's a lot to talk about. Why even bring it up? Why even bring it up now if it was a joke? Why say it like I abused you, like it was mutual? Why say it like a defense? Because one, I was being attacked. I saw all, so just don't even buy them. You posted our texts on socials publicly. But you realize if you make shit up, that'll put you in more trouble. And I know you feel like it was right and okay, but look, I didn't message you about
me throughout our relationship. I told her because of this, I would have to defend.
Fucking Christ. Told you about.
And this is something she admitted to in a conversation on Facebook Messenger. When I brought up that she had been assaulting me throughout our relationship, Alice responded by saying that any girl would have done the same. Alice also went on to send me a message where she said that her kicking me was probably uncalled for. I messaged Alice about her assaulting me on Facebook after she had posted TikToks calling me an abuser and lied that I was on Claire's law and under a police investigation. I questioned why Alice was doing this when she had been physically assaulting me throughout our relationship.
There we go. Postal subtly by them. I know you feel it was right and okay and look like I didn't message you about it because I didn't want to fucking fight you, Alice. I don't want to fight. I'm in tears now. Noun. But now. I'm not making shit up, and this is really fucked up. I didn't punch you in the face, but you know, you're threatening me here, and I just want to talk. You made me sound like you.
Shit. I told her.
Because I want to explain to my friends what was going on, question mark. When please, I need a memory jog, clearly, because you had attacked me publicly. Please don't act like I just did this. You backed me into a corner. Then tell them the real reason why. I didn't even want to call. I told them, oh, didn't. They wouldn't go away because you kept posting. I tried so hard to go away. It's broken me. I'm broken. I don't talk to people. I told my family to go.
Because of this, I would have to defend myself because of the accusation.
And people are seeing you for you. So this must be the conversation that it's connected to. So they had a conversation privately where he confronted her about publicly exposing information for clout and attention. She then says, what? You don't want people to, you don't want people to know? Why don't you tell them the real reason? And he is agonizing in pain because he's trying to make himself as small as possible so that they can be able to rectify the problem and speak directly. And she was just unwilling to, one, not leverage public clout, which means she did all of this for attention. So she's 100% in the false. Even if she's been victimized, she chose to go about it as though he never wanted to ameliorate the situation whatsoever. And whether or not he did so before or after any conflict resolution had begun or any conflict provocation had begun, she explicitly wanted the outcome that she got. She wanted him exposed, she wanted him destroyed, she wanted him ruined. And he, despite whatever happened between them, was actually torn apart by what he had done and what was conspiring in between the two of them. And she refused to ameliorate the problem and become amicable about it from any attempt that he attempted, every time he attempted it, to the point that she was basically driving him insane.
She had posted publicly. This is when Alice threatened to sue me for suggesting that she had slapped me, which she later admitted to in a document. I messaged Alice about the time she had kicked me, which had led to me sleeping on the sofa and staying away from her to stop her from assaulting me. I retold the story on messages, and Alice replied saying she didn't just start kicking me randomly for no reason. Alice admits in these messages that she was kicking me because I had refused to put my shirt on, which is her reason for assaulting me. Alice responded with, yeah, that's pretty stupid, in response to me refusing to put my shirt on. This is because I had a skin condition that Alice was aware of. I said it was stupid at the time because I regretted not just doing as Alice had asked, as it would have avoided her assaulting me, and we wouldn't have ended up arguing. We had also texted about this exact situation. I told Alice I didn't want to upset her as she was angry that...
So something else that's starting to make sense is that when he keeps having to retread ground next or haphazard bird-brained over and over again, but it's making it much clearer that he's trying to explain in real time how it was developing and why there were two conversations going on. So he keeps retreading himself.
I no longer would share a bed with her anymore because she had been kicking me and calling me fat because I told her
he's not fully explained the video call yet. Also F.
that I couldn't sleep with a shirt on because of my illness. I've had a skin condition since 2021 that was brought on by stress. This skin condition would cause me to have full body itching episodes when I was touched, pushed, or hit, and it made it very hard for me to sleep. I was told by my doctor to try and avoid stressful situations and to stay dry and avoid warmth as it was seemingly making it worse. This is why I would sleep with no shirt on. When we first started dating, it was minimal around the stomach area, but a few months into our relationship, it had spread to my entire body.
Man, you fucking goddamn break out! Goddamn, homie! That shit's spreading on his skin like fucking mildew.
I would sleep with no shirt on. When we first started dating, it was minimal around the stomach area, but a few months into our relationship...
That is all over his chest and his body. Damn. That's fucked up.
It had spread to my entire body. Throughout my time with Alice, it got worse, and the stress of our relationship and other issues I was having at the time were having a huge effect on me, and Alice was aware of this. Originally, she seemed supportive, but it quickly became something that she would use to hurt me. Alice started by calling me fat and texting in person, and this was because she wanted me to keep my shirt on, because she did not like my illness, and she didn't want to see it or be around it. We were in bed together, and Alice told me when I took my shirt off that if I was going to do that, then she wanted me to sleep downstairs.
She literally hit him with nigga put a shirt on. That's not funny, Carl. That's not funny. That's not funny. She literally hit him with nigga put a shirt on. And it actively was making him more stressed and then break out more. So that she could then justify more reasons to say put a shirt on. Poor little British Tick-Tink.
I told Alice I wasn't going to do that because I wanted to sleep in our bed that night, and she had complained that I spent too much time away from her. This angered Alice, and she called me names. I ignored her and turned away so I could go to sleep. Alice turned around in bed and kicked me in my lower back, and I told her to fuck off, and then she kicked me even harder and then started to donkey kick me in my neck and in the back of my head. Alice had done this so hard that I fell out of the bed while she was still kicking me. I proceeded to get incredibly angry, and I shouted at Alice, and I insulted her, and this is something that I deeply regret doing. When I messaged Alice about this on Facebook, she said that she didn't just start kicking me hard. The argument had got worse, and we both started insulting each other. Alice then pushed me and tried to hit me. This is when I grabbed Alice by the arms and I pulled her to the floor. This is the only time that I tried to defend myself after Alice had tried to attack me after kicking me in the back of the head. Alice says in the messages that she didn't do it for no reason, and she believed that because I'd refused to sleep downstairs without my shirt on, that made it acceptable to kick me because I'd refused to do what Alice had asked. Alice has also written in a document that I had accused her of hitting me when we were in bed because I was talking to our cat, and Alice has put this story last in her document. Alice says that this story about the cat is a lie, and that it didn't happen, and wrote this. At this point, he's trying...
Is this where the cat memes are coming from? This is why people saying that we'll never know the truth unless we find that cat? Because, like, that's funny, but also that's disturbing. Because I find the cat less interesting, and I find the details that she's basically admitted that she wanted to hit him over a skin condition that she knew was a tipping point for his anxiety, actively increased his anxiety, and continued to abuse him verbally, physically, and emotionally through the emotional and physical abuse to the point that he reached a breaking point. Off that alone, Alice, you're fucked. Let's keep going. How bad can it possibly be?
Trying to use a situation with that cat and manipulate the story. I can show what really happened here. Alice has shown 5 screenshots of this conversation and has portrayed it as the whole story. Alice does not show the hundreds of texts where she admits to getting physical and trying to hurt me whilst also downplaying the seriousness of a physical attacks on me whilst justifying them. This was purposely hidden as it would show that Alice was physically abusing me, which is why she shows this screenshot and has cut off the first part of the conversation where I'd asked Alice why she tried to hit me, in which she belittles and insults me for suggesting that she had assaulted me, even though she admits to getting physical in the text that she did not show. Alice
He's got you there.
then went on to write this. I had told him to stop saying weird things to the cat, he was joking about taking him away, and why would I let someone who told me they'd break my cat's neck near my cat? This was an argument around mine, so there is no texts. This is not true at all, and not how this took place, which will be shown in these text messages. For context before I read them, me and Alice were in bed together when our cat Bear entered the room, jumped onto the bed and sat on my chest. I began talking to the cat in a silly voice, and Alice was laughing with me. I was jokingly saying I was going to eat him if he got any closer, and it was very apparent that I did not mean this literally, and that I was in fact joking, as we had done together throughout our relationship. Alice even acknowledges that I was joking in her document at the time. Alice said this in her document. He then goes on to say I have punched him in the face over the cat. This is Delulu Island we're on now, because he's trying to grab onto anything he can to create his story. This didn't happen, and I couldn't tell you where he cooked this up from. This is from an argument where he was being horrible, had the cat in his arms, and came up to me making jokes about taking him away. Alex was in my face all over me doing this, so I pushed him off of me. I got this story from our own text that Alice has left out of her document. It is not something that I had cooked up, and I'm not creating my own story, as there were hundreds of texts of me complaining when it happened that Alice doesn't show, which I will read for full clarity. Alice admits that I was making jokes in her document, but then says I was being horrible, which is untrue and completely contradictory to what Alice had written, where she fully admits that I was joking at the time. Alice calls me delusional, and says I'm on Delulu Island for thinking that Alice had physically assaulted me for joking about the cat, but has written in her own document that she did push me, and that it was because of me making these jokes about the cat. Alice texted me saying she hadn't hit me, and this was after I'd accused her of punching me in our bedroom in person, and then I had walked away. Before I left, I asked Alice to pack her things and leave, as I was not comfortable with being hit in our relationship, and this was not the first time that Alice had hit me. At first, Alice completely denied even trying to hit me at all, and then responded with her reason for why she got physical with me, as it was due to me saying I was going to take the cat away as a joke. I was incredibly thrown off by this, as it was minutes after Alice had assaulted me. Alice began to gaslight me over text and tried to get me to think that this had never happened, and that I was overreacting. Alice didn't apologise for getting physical, but instead doubled down on why she'd assaulted me. Alice hadn't told me she didn't like the way I was joking around before she assaulted me. We were in bed laughing, so I thought it was fine and just a normal interaction. Alice calls me mental and mocks me with laughing crying emojis for trying to discuss why she had assaulted me. I made it clear in the text that I did not push Alice or get physical when I was upset with her, and that I was tired of her doing this to me. To which Alice responded by agreeing and saying, yeah, after you've been a bellend. Alice ignores her assaulting me as the reason this argument has started, and has cut it out of her document to make it seem like I was being horrible, and that she had reacted to me, and not that she had hit me and insulted me, to which I responded by asking her to leave the house and leaving the room. This is why Alice at no point is specific about what I said that was actually horrible. She just references the joke I made about taking the cat away. This is because I wasn't being horrible, and Alice is misrepresenting the situation intentionally by hiding these texts that showed what really took place. Alice again acknowledges in texts that I was joking, and that I was not being serious at any point, and that she was aware of this the entire time this argument was taking place.
I can understand why he doesn't have a video of this happening, because who the fuck's gonna record themselves intimately in bed with their partner before, assuming that there was gonna be a fight that breaks off? There's no way he could have predicted that. However, I find that I'm more going to lean on his side of believing him, because why would he need to lie about the cat? Or the kicking, which are inherently connected to his skin condition. Because now, if she says that, if she comes back with a story to say it's not about that, she's going to have to prove that it wasn't. And the only way to prove that is to have eyewitness inside the bedroom in the form of a video recording. That's as much as I'd be willing to accept to, like, put the accusation to bed. Because the onus is on her to prove the null hypothesis here. She has to prove him wrong because he's already doing his best to, like, poke holes in her argument. Which I guess is actually good enough. If you get in bed with this man and you choose to have sex with this man, understand this man has golden hands and he is willing to throw them with men and women. But at the same time, he's got a skin condition that got worse with her abusing verbally, physically, and psychologically shit out of him, and got him going through psychotrophy, feeling like he can't even be able to joke with a kitty on his chest. Certainly not the first time a man's been fucking scattergoried over the fact that he had coochie in his face.
This contradicts what Alice has said in her document, where she claims that I was being horrible, as Alice knew the whole time I was joking, as shown by these messages, minutes after the actual event had happened. I told Alice I didn't like her getting physical with me, as it would happen a lot, and I was often ignored when I tried to talk about it. When I would ask why, Alice would stonewall me, or would tell me that I was overreacting when I complained about things becoming physical. Alice would not talk to me or tell me she was getting upset before she resorted to physically assaulting me. Alice tried to take the conversation.
Well, that just makes her the asshole there. You can't blame him for not communicating to you when you won't talk to him at all, period.
Away from it being about physical abuse, and said that I was asking her to leave because she didn't laugh. I asked Alice to leave because she had attacked me without warning instead of talking to me, and Alice knew this, as I made it clear in person and on the text conversation that we were having. But Alice was trying to change the reason I wanted to break up to make me look like I'd overreacted to her misunderstanding a joke, and not because I believed that she had assaulted me. Alice says, because I didn't laugh, because I pushed you off. Once again showing that Alice clearly knew that she had been physical with me, and then mocked me and belittled me for it, even though she had started by calling me delusional for even suggesting that she had been and that this had taken place. Alice still calls me delusional to this day for believing this even took place, and says I'm on Delulu Island in her document. I asked Alice to stay away from me, and she called me mental again. I told Alice that I would stay away from her because she hadn't stopped assaulting me, as I felt this was my only option that I had left. I complained again that I needed Alice to leave, as though I was being intentionally pushed to my limits, and I'd reached the point where I was afraid to interact with our cat or Alice out of fear of being assaulted, as it had been going on for months at this point. Alice calls me delusional again, and blamed me, saying that this was my decision when I had asked her to leave the house. But I wouldn't have asked Alice to leave if she hadn't have assaulted me. I had let the physical abuse towards me become normalized for reasons that I will go on to later in this video. But I had reached a point where I couldn't deal with it anymore, and felt there was no excuses to justify this situation, as it seemed Alice now believed that me wanting to leave because of this was an overreaction. Our relationship was incredibly toxic, and it affected us both severely, and I felt that we needed to be apart as things were getting worse. Alice says that I was horrible to her to justify the continued physical assaults on me, even though she had started this fight because I was joking, and had tried to hurt me to get me to stop. But to claim that this behaviour was exclusively one-sided is untrue, and does not justify resorting to physically assaulting me because of a joke. Alice then mentions I had said something to her the other day when her brother was over, and this story is actually in Alice's document. This wasn't the first time where Alice had treated me this way over the cat, but it's becoming a daily occurrence throughout our relationship. There are so many cases where I end up taking Bear into another room, saying that taking the cat off him is starting an argument when I only did it after he said weird things to him. Acts like a child had his toy taken away when realistically, I was uncomfortable with him being near my cat after saying what he does. Alice says that I acted like a child had his toys taken away, and that I complained that taking the cat off me is starting an argument. Alice then says I said weird things to him, and that's why she had taken him away. I was upset with Alice because, like in these texts where Alice justified assaulting me for talking to the cat and making jokes, Alice would use the cat as an excuse to assault me. I had broken down on a few occasions due to this, and I had gone to Alice and spoken to her about this because, as she says in her document, she was constantly taking the cat away from me, and I felt that this was done to get a rise out of me, as she knew that it upset me. Alice knew that I cared for the cat, but constantly referred to me being affectionate with the cat and talking to him as weird when I had asked why she'd taken him away, or pushed me and left the room. Alice messaged me that she realised I cared for the cat after we had broken up, but had still gone on to portray me being affectionate with the cat as a justifiable reason to physically assault me, which is why she had kept things intentionally vague when describing me talking to the cat as weird, and has cropped these texts, as Alice knew I was doing nothing out of the ordinary when it came to me and the cat. Alice
Yep, I get the joke now. It's a stupid joke, but I get the joke now.
says in her document that I was acting like a child because of this. I had asked Alice many times to stop hurting me for being affectionate and talking with the cat, like I am doing in these text messages. I had broken down crying in front of Alice, which is why she says I'm acting like a child. Alice makes it seem like I was overreacting to something small, and not that I was deeply affected by being assaulted and mocked constantly for talking to the cat and various other issues in our relationship. This is why Alice has intentionally hidden these text messages that show why I was so upset, so she could misrepresent my complaints as childish and unreasonable, even though she admits to doing this on many occasions. It was affecting me severely trying to deal with the gaslighting and manipulation, as well as the physical abuse while sharing a house together, and to read that my breakdowns have been described as acting like a child who had his toy taken away shows that Alice was aware that it affected me and is even now still insulting me and mocking me for pushing me to my breaking point. In the text messages, Alice continued to blame her hitting me on how I had reacted previously to the constant abuse I was under to justify her continuing to hurt me physically for things like jokes or talking to the cat. If Alice didn't have a reason for why she'd hit me, she would say it was because I'd done something previously to deserve it, like in these messages. Alice says she pushed me away because it was my fault, and all I do is call her names. But that is not at all what happened or how this argument took place. I would get upset after I was pushed, slapped or punched. I was horrible to Alice on many occasions, and I deeply regret this behaviour, and nothing will justify that. But the order in which these events have been portrayed as false, as Alice is once again ignoring that she had tried to hurt me when I was just talking with our cat. I was upset and frustrated that Alice hadn't apologised for getting physical with me, and I lashed out at Alice over text, which I regret. I told Alice that this isn't what I signed up for in a relationship, and it was hard for me to follow if Alice was upset when we had been totally fine, and then suddenly she had hit me. Alice then says that I had dragged her in an argument and that I had shouted at her. I ignore this in the text messages as it was untrue, and I've covered this in this video already. Alice says says I said weird shit, so she pushed me off and then told me to grow up and to cry because I was upset that she had got physical with me. I pointed out that it was really strange to me that Alice knew that I was joking around with her, but was still treating me like it was okay to assault me, and that I should go and cry about her physically assaulting me. Alice then says that I was actually provoking her on purpose because I knew she didn't like it when I talked to the cat. We lived together, and the cat was ours, and creating rules like saying I can't talk to him because she was annoyed at me is unfair and unreasonable. I went on to tell Alice that I was tired of being hit for just being myself. I thought we were having fun, but now I didn't know if I would be punched or pushed for just joking around, and because of this I wanted to break up, because it was clear that our relationship was not working, and we could not be together if issues this small would lead to physical violence. Alice then said she knew that I wasn't being serious, to which I told her that she shouldn't hit me. Alice then denied hitting me. I did not expect Alice to admit it, as I become used to Alice completely downplaying and excusing being physically abusive in our relationship and mocking me whilst continuing to call me delusional. As shown in this video, Alice has lied and hidden physically abusing me on multiple different occasions, like she's doing here in these text messages.
Okay. So, if the timeline proves and prevails as such, the real timeline of events is their relationship starts ratcheting up with levels of toxic positivity. She clearly doesn't like seeing his skin condition, then starts abusing the shit out of him, where the skin condition worsens. To the point where, because of the skin condition, she basically tells him, either you sleep with a shirt on when we're in the bed together, or you go sleep downstairs. Because conditioned by sleeping without a shirt on, she literally hits him with nigga put a shirt on, and that is where a lot of the emotional abuse begins. First verbal in the form of how she says it to him, and then emotional in the form that she basically is withholding affection. Not affection as in sex, but affection as in actual intimacy, in the form of just being in his presence, parallel in neutral, without him doing this request. Really, request into demand. What started as a request when she was first made aware of the condition, then as she continued to be aware of it but didn't care, a demand that he basically sacrifice his comfort for her pleasure and comfort. Then she continues to speak to him in a way where any argument gets litigated into a never-ending tirade against him, an accusation that will be used against him to say that he's violent and evil and toxic, but both of them are ratcheting each other up. But when he explodes, it's because of the emotional and verbal abuse that she visits upon him, and then the physical altercations that she causes. There is no excuse for his ability to involve himself in the physical altercations based on her provocation. He clearly is the type of man that he will put his hands on a woman before he ever allows that woman to just simply keep abusing him. And that's on him. But from what we know, she is 1,000% the perpetrator of both problems back and forth. Both the ones that he creates and the one that she creates. Because she just clearly believes that he would never. And then when he does, she then decides to go to the route of, you put your hands on me? You defended yourself? And then she goes to the nines. Again, I find myself saying, fuck that woman. He shouldn't put his hands on her, because that gives her what she wants. If this were a more manipulative and more prepared woman, this man would be in jail. He would be in jail, he would definitely have the charges that she's asking for, or probably claim that she would have asked for, and he would be dead to rights, and his career would permanently, truly be dead. Because Alice is clearly a woman who has gotten away with doing this to other people. Because she's the type of woman to say, oh, suck it up, you're a man. I barely touched you. She is truly Amber Laura Heard's sister from beyond the British grave. Continue.
I then told Alice I had to stop the conversation as I was really struggling with being gaslit about what happened and then being insulted. This would cause me to get very upset, and I would struggle massively when Alice would tell me that I was making everything up. Alice then proceeds to insult me again, and then mentions that I had insulted her. I fully admit that I used horrible language, but as you could see, Alice would insult me too, but would only focus on my behaviour, and would completely ignore her own. I said to Alice I was tired of her ruining normal interactions by getting annoyed with me. I felt that Alice was intentionally making excuses to justify hurting me, and that this had happened since we very first began dating, as I mentioned in these texts. We continued to talk, and then I proceeded to ask Alice to leave again, because I felt that she was trying to antagonise me. Alice said she didn't respect me, and that was why she was treating me this way. Once I realised this wasn't
I don't think that's an excuse for you to beat the shit out of your boyfriend and or husband. I started abusing you because I don't respect you. If every man could use that excuse all the time and we truthfully lived in a patriarchy, the world would be a darker place. it would be a darker place, period. That's not acceptable. It wouldn't have been acceptable for him to say it, so why is it acceptable for you to say it?
Going to be resolved as the conversation had just become Alice insulting me further and trying to gaslight me. I told Alice I had to go back to work, as I'd been in an ongoing battle to retrieve the money my YouTube channel had owed from my YouTube network, as it had been taken away from me, and they had stopped paying me at the time. Alice knew that I'd been
And that's probably caused by her having put out the story. So he loses out not only the year of content that he missed out on, and thus the payments that came from that, but he also misses out on the monies that are associated with it. So it wasn't just social ruination, it was also financial ruination. So this isn't just he's doing and paying the dear consequences, which, sure, he loses out because people know this is how he treats women, and in the future, he loses the potential opportunities that would be afforded to him. But to play up the situation and clearly try to make him into a monster, and then sell that story so that they immediately drop him, and that he can't even be able to pay for the fucking house he's living in? That he's not able to pay for the house he's living in? That is a clear choice. That's a clear choice to try and fuck him to the legal code, at least to what applies in the UK.
in a battle with my network for tens of thousands of pounds, as it had been withheld from me for months, and I had no income stream because of this, as they were continuing to take future payments from me. I was still paying for every expense in our house, and using my savings, as I was the only person working at the time. Alice says I took my equipment away from her, but that was because I was using it to make videos, and to try and continue working so I could afford to support us and the cat. Alice then says she pushed me because I was in her face. This is a complete lie, as I was laying down flat on my back in bed with the cat on my chest, and Alice moved towards me and pushed me. This shocked me, and I started to feel extremely worried about how Alice had begun to twist the narrative that I somehow had gone from just telling a joke about the cat to now being in Alice's face. Not only did Alice then downplay how hard she hit me, she had begun to rewrite the story of me being at fault over tech.
And there's the I didn't hit you that hard.
I said to Alice I didn't think things were going to get better, and this showed me that our relationship would not improve, to which I again asked if we could end our relationship. Alice said that I had flaws, and she is correct. I tried to work through them when we were together, but I felt like the line had to be drawn somewhere before things got worse, which they did. I did not want the way we had treated each other to be an ongoing excuse to allow things to continue to get worse. If we couldn't find solutions, I believed it was right to break up, as the ongoing abuse was not something that should continue. Alice then continued to say that she doesn't respect me after I told her that I had been working harder despite the financial issues I was having at the time. Alice then told me to come here and say it to her face when I said that I wanted her to leave. At this point, I was annoyed, and I told Alice to get out.
So that's a bait. That's her trying to bait an altercation.
Again and to leave the house, and she was actively trying to escalate the situation by trying to start an argument with me in person and being aggressive over text. Alice continued to antagonize me and then mocked me for not working a 9 to 5. This would happen when I complained about how stressed I was that I hadn't been paid, and it was becoming a huge struggle trying to provide for 2 people and the cat. Alice then accuses me again of kicking her out because she didn't like my joke. At this point I started to get increasingly more upset, as this had been going on for hours now. Whenever I brought up any issues, I would be gaslit and constantly misrepresented. This is something I really struggled to deal with. Alice tried to make me feel like my reasons for wanting to break up was stupid, and that I was over emotional and overreacting. Alice
So that's a sign of emotional breakdown and mental teardowns throughout the relationship. I would say he probably didn't become physically violent with her until she kept doing this throughout every conversation they had. She's definitely the perpetrator, but because he doesn't know how to manage his emotions or how to navigate the conversation sphere as he should, it's on him for allowing her to manipulate the situation as he does.
then proceeded to mock me again when I started listing reasons for why I can no longer put up with the constant fighting in our relationship. I said to Alice I was totally fine before she had pushed me. I was not taking anything out on Alice, as Alice was the one who had antagonized and laid hands on me. Alice would then take my reaction and claim that I'd started the fight or the argument, like she has done in her document and on these text messages, even though she assaulted me. Alice then proceeded to repeat again that I wanted her to leave and break up, not due to the physical abuse, but in fact because she didn't laugh at my jokes with the cat, which is completely misrepresenting my actual feelings again. Alice then says, bro dumped me, kicked me out, and then asked to talk, and calls me an idiot. Alice ignores that she had physically assaulted me and verbally berated me on text the entire time, and I had tried to talk about it properly multiple times without fighting. At this point, I then snap at Alice and I insult her, and then the conversation continues to get worse. We then decided to talk in person about it, but Alice continued to antagonize me when I said we should talk normally and not be angry and shout at each other. Alice then tells me that I need to try my best. Alice then refused to talk in my office and instead made me go to her. When I went into our bedroom and asked what could be done to prevent this from happening again, Alice told me that I would have to get used to her hitting me if I continued to speak to the cat. I told her that was insane and that continuing to hit me as an answer was stupid, and if that is really all she's going to continue saying, I no longer wanted to be in a relationship together. Alice then left the room. I instantly regretted calling Alice stupid, as it was childish of me to resort to insults, but I was incredibly taken aback and upset at this even being a suggestion that I would have to get used to Alice hitting me if I didn't change the way I interact with the cat for her. I then
Yeah, that's 100% negative, especially if that's what she's framing the situation around. Maybe don't. Well.
And of all the things that he can call
Go ahead.
stupid, really, that bothered you that much, really?
Yeah. Like, even if he's saying the situation itself is stupid, God, fuck, she is so goddamn manipulative. Get used to me hitting you if you want to play with my cat. Kappa. Why? Why? Why hit him, period? Why is that the first thing you go to?
And politely asked Alice over text.
Because she seems like a narcissist. She seems like hitting is her go-to.
We couldn't communicate with each other without arguing. Alice then says that I said that we can't interact with each other and that I was suggesting that we can't be together, which clearly upset her. I honestly and openly explained to Alice that if she believed that physical violence was the answer, that our relationship was beyond saving, unless she felt she could find other ways to deal with these issues, which she told me that she couldn't. Alice told me she wouldn't change her behaviour. I felt this was enough of a reason for me to ask Alice to leave, as I didn't want to constantly worry about being hit again. Alice proceeds to mock me and call me a mental case, and then says that she is just doing what I had told her to do. Alice continued to argue with me.
No, that's just not fucking acceptable. She's a bitch for that. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable at all.
And called me butthurt in text messages. I was incredibly upset with how this had been handled. Alice again makes it seem like what I'm asking for was unreasonable, and says sorry for doubling down, for pushing you off with a question mark. As you can see, Alice showed 5 carefully picked screenshots of our text messages to convince people that this is an entirely different story than to the reality of what had happened at the time. This was not the only ongoing issue surrounding the cat, and Alice wrote in her document that she didn't want me near Bear because I would call him mine, and she capitalized this. Alice would shout at me and get physical with me when I said the cat was ours. I never said to anyone that the cat was mine. We were a couple who had brought him together and lived together, so I believed that it was our cat. Alice had paid the £50 deposit for Bear and asked me to pay the remaining £200 so that we could get him. I believed this meant that he was our cat, as we had both paid for him and we were moving in with each other. I then posted him on my Instagram story after we had gone to get him together. Alice got upset at me.
I feel like you don't even have to go that far. Like, let's see here. You got the picture of the cat with you.
We had brought him together and lived together, so I believed that it was...
And then, this clip right here with the cat on your chest and she's saying sleeping with daddy. He's cooking! I think he's burning it a little bit. He's cooking! Like, either the cat belongs to you or the cat belongs to both of you together. If the cat belongs to you together and you're saying sleeping with daddy, what are we talking about, Alice? What are we talking about? And you're gonna hit daddy, air quote, every single time he tries to interact with his pet? His pet, your collective pet.
It was our cat. Alice had paid the £50 deposit for Bear and asked me to pay the remaining £200 so that we could get him. I believed this meant that he was our cat, as we had both paid for him and we were moving in with each other. I then posted him on my Instagram story after we had gone to get him together. Alice got upset
Instagram official. Oh no.
at me and told me that she hated that people were saying congratulations to me and calling him mine in my comments, so I removed the posts. Even after me and Alice moved in with each other, I was not allowed to do anything with the cat, as Alice had made it clear, like she has in this document, that he did not belong to me, and this led to her pushing and slapping me for interacting with him or treating him like he belonged to us both when we were living together.
So the way that I feel about it, he helped pay for the deposit to bring the cat into the relationship as well as the home environment. It's as much his as it is yours. So let's use the best comparison and let's try to compare it to a child. Zulian is my stepchild. Ultimately, the way my sister and mother see it, my girlfriend, and I'm putting air quotes around this, has a kid. I don't have a kid. However, because I am dating her, I am still going to be the first thing he thinks of as a parent. If anything were to happen between me and her, and she were to litigate and use Zulian as a weapon against me, I'm going to be heartbroken. Because I've been helping raise him since he was a child. Small child. He is now 2. It is even more lethal. In this case, since he was responsible with adopting the cat, it is like her effectively putting her baby daddy on child support and saying that he's a deadbeat, but he's literally been there every step of the fucking way. Supportive and ameliorative and doing the necessary extra steps that would matter for anything for pet care, let alone parenting, to work. It's not an exact 1-to-1, unless you're white, which is an exact 1-to-1. That's fucking evil of her. 100% that's fucking evil of her.
Tried to hide that she...
I mean, the other way that I could say this is that by him making it Instagram official, she knows that he cares about the cat. So she's just doing what she believes is the most damaging things that she can do to him. Which is to tell him, if you show this cat affection, the cat that I told you doesn't belong to you, it belongs to me, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And then, if you won't let me beat the shit out of you for this cat that I've said you don't own, that I know you care about, I'm going to ruin you socially, and I'm going to make sure that you can't ever work again, and that you can't get your money, and that I socially and financially ruin you. How is that any different than what happens in fucking divorce court and in fucking paternity court? She's horrible. She's horrible.
Been physically and verbally abusing me, would gaslight me, and that she would even attack me to
And I'm sorry to hear about that, just a girl. I'm sorry to hear that.
her abuse was purely reactionary, which is not the case. Alice never shows I was reacting to constant abuse at any point to make it seem like I would react terribly for no reason. I struggled massively with the constant mental and physical abuse that I faced throughout our relationship, and it had affected me severely to be in this situation constantly, as our arguments would devolve into name-calling and pulling each other down. I am ashamed when I read these texts back of how I behave when we would argue. To resort to insults is unacceptable, and it was never okay for me to make personal jabs at Alice. Alice had found out that I had told my friends about the physical abuse because I had leaked my messages to her, and because of this, Alice claimed I was making up a contradictory story to hers to release publicly on my own accord. She does not mention that I was responding to lies that I'm a convicted abuser that she had posted on her TikTok publicly, and that she had been going through and following my friends months after we had broken up, trying to get their attention to spread this lie, which ended up with my friends asking me to explain this to them after seeing the TikToks that Alice was posting online. I was reacting to Alice's public posts and lies about me, but Alice has hidden that she was constantly harassing me to make it seem like I'd gone out of my way to talk badly about her for no reason, when in reality Alice was trying to isolate me and antagonizing me into responding to her for months. When Alice had received the messages from my friends, she accused me of lying. Alice said if I told people she hit me in our relationship that she would sue me, even though I was sharing privately that her posts alleging that I was a convicted criminal were untrue. Alice then proceeded to admit to hitting me during our relationship in the same conversation where she threatened to sue me for telling people that she had been hitting me. Alice then excused this behavior by telling me it's okay for women to hit men if they are being an asshole. Alice mocked me for complaining about the physical abuse, as she believed it was justified, and then told me that if I wanted it to stop, I should make a public apology towards her. Alice told me if she wanted to expose me publicly that she would have posted a document about me. I later found out when my ex-girlfriend Jess messaged me that Alice had told Jess that she had been building a folder on me since January. Alice had stayed in contact with me for months where she antagonized me, threatened me, and continued to mentally abuse me.
So yeah, she was setting the entire document up for 5 months. So from that period, from January up until where she decided to drop it in June and July, that was her quite literally farming for monetization that she could use against him from their situation. That she could litigate it in front of the court of public opinion to get everybody on their side. She tried to use us, Jay. She tried to use us. Good to hear, just a girl. Also, let's read that document. I ended up gathering an FBI folder of this guy full of all the abuse. I don't know what to do with it. I need to report him to the police first, realistically, before anything is released, but I want people to know how horrible he is. He shouldn't have a platform. He shouldn't be making videos on Visa people when he's one of them. And I know his housemates have heard him. Like, I've got so many witnesses and people to back the facts that I just need the balls. I spent hours and hours reading into the law side of this and all, and he can't do anything if it's all true and proven, which it can be. I've been sitting on this since January. So, shoutouts to the ex for being a real one to expose that she's been trying to set up a dossier and folder shit. Because God damn it,
that Alice had told Jess that she had been building a folder on me since January. Alice had stayed in contact with me for months where she antagonized me, threatened me, and continued to mentally abuse me so that she could knowingly put my reactions into her document that she had started building in January. Alice said that it wasn't like she had named me in these posts or made a video about me, but she had responded and deleted comments on videos she posted saying it was about me and that I was on Claire's law, which again is a lie. My friends saw the TikToks Alice had been posting online as she had gone through and followed them all after our breakup. Me and my friends had a call where I answered questions about my relationship, and I told my side of the story where I explained that Alice had been physically abusing me throughout our relationship. I made it clear that I did not believe that this was an excuse for my behavior and that our relationship was toxic and it was not good for either of us, and I was ashamed of how I had behaved. A friend of mine at the time, a YouTuber who goes by the name of ImAllexx, had messaged me in our group chat encouraging me to share more stories and all the evidence I had of Alice's abuse. He told me I could trust him, and that because we were friends, that they weren't going to share any of it anywhere, and that it would remain private after I made it clear that I was worried that it would be leaked. Alice messaged me with direct screenshots from the private conversation that I had had with ImAllexx and my friends. Alice had been sent screenshots from our private conversation, and it was clear that if I talked to anyone, she would know that she was following as many of my friends as possible. Alice said I shouldn't be lying about her hitting me, and that she would sue me, but as I've already covered in these texts earlier in this video, she then went on to admit to hitting me in these messages and in her document. Alice made it clear to me that I couldn't talk to anyone about what I had experienced, and she was now contacting all my friends and isolating me completely, which is exactly what I feared she would do, and she had made it clear that there was nobody I could talk to who she couldn't reach, and she was sending me my own conversations so that I would know that I couldn't get away from her or talk about what happened with anyone, including my friends, as they were going to leak my messages to her. When Alice's document was posted, ImAllexx posted various stories and a document about me that contains many statements that are false. ImAllexx had messaged YouTube commentary channels after our conversation where I privately entrusted him with my abuse story, even though he told me that what I shared with him would remain private. According to the YouTuber Samuel, ImAllexx told him that I had refused to answer any of his questions despite us having an hour call and there being various messages and a conversation disproving this, as it was leaked directly to Alice.
Hey, I just thought I'd come in to say that I've spoke to Alice, the ex of Alex, and I've also spoke to InAllexx. According to InAllexx as well, Alex has sort of ignored people, like ignored everybody, sort of gone into like a recluse, not messaging anyone back.
So he was lying, and not only was he lying, he was being selectively manipulative. He was probably pulling away because he was being shown in real time that his own friends were leaking information to her. The story is getting deeper.
Not even messaging InAllexx back about their podcast that recently failed. Nothing like that.
I was incredibly confused as I did not understand why these people had been told lies about what happened when Fraser had told me that I could trust him with talking to him about the abuse I had gone through and that it would remain between us because we were friends. InAllexx posted on his Instagram story that I had refused to talk about this and has shared messages of him discussing my relationship with other people. He says, but the man never wanted to discuss it with us ever. I had spoken to Fraser on a few occasions about how I was struggling with Alice and how it was upsetting me, which directly contradicts what Fraser has posted publicly on his Instagram stories. Fraser wrote, we thought they were still together or seeing each other, lol, and that he suspected that we kept breaking up. After I finally felt like I could talk about this when I believed Alice had left me alone, I opened up to him that the last 4 months had been very hard for me. Fraser never shows him asking me about Alice or any of my messages to him, as it would show that he was lying, as I was the one who had tried to arrange a call with him privately after I had been confiding in him with the issues I had had surrounding Alice. Fraser wrote, the dude never discussed personal stuff with us, lol, solely just YouTube and games. But Alice had full access to my phone when we were together and was threatening me after our breakup if I mentioned anything to anyone, like she has done after these messages I had with Fraser were leaked. And I did open up fully and honestly about what had been going on for that year when I asked him to call, and in the messages that he has cropped out. I had asked him to call multiple times, and I had told him that I was free to speak to him whenever. I tried to arrange multiple calls to talk about the situation, as you can see in these messages on Facebook. I was willing to answer questions even after my messages had been leaked. In the live stream, Samuel says that I was a recluse, but I went home because Fraser had told me that I should go see my parents and that I should take time off from the internet. To say I didn't attempt to talk to him about this is a barefaced lie. I understand him not wanting to be involved. I am not his responsibility, and he should not have to answer for my own personal problems just because we were once friends. However, what has been posted publicly is not true, and therefore I believe it is only right that I correct this. Fraser has intentionally cropped our messages that he posted on his Instagram story to portray a version of events which is not true. Since the conversation me and Fraser had, where I made it very clear in the messages that I had been at fault, Fraser has lied that I tried to claim that I was a victim. In reality, I explained that it was complicated and that I had been at fault, and that our relationship was very different from what Alice had posted publicly that they had seen. In a document InAllexx posted responded to allegations that were made against him by his ex-girlfriend Kirsty, InAllexx made a series of comments about me. Fraser claims that I am a widely disliked content creator, and that I have been since 2019.
He was a deep field op. Jesus.
And that he only remained friends with me because he is a loyal person. I find this rather odd, as Fraser told me that I could trust him, and that he wouldn't talk to anyone, and then spoke to strangers with YouTube channels that interviewed him, and then shared what he had said about me publicly. Fraser goes on to then downplay our friendship, as Kirst accuses him of openly admitting to her that he was only ever friends with me so he could use me to further his career, as he benefited from me. I would like to make it clear.
So, the accusation that they put on Danky Jabot was an accusation they should have put on InAllexx. But they didn't, because InAllexx had given them what they wanted. So, they weren't going to expose him for just being manipulative, malicious, and choosing to try and downplay what he was involved in. Because if he had exposed the fact that he was actually being communicative, that he was more than happy to try and ameliorate the problem as possible, that would then not help their narrative. So they just blatantly lied. The truth outs, boys. The truth outs.
For context, that I didn't know Kirst personally, and I only ever met her on one occasion. To make posts where she acts like she knew me in any way, shape, or form personally is odd when our paths only crossed on one occasion. Fraser denies this by claiming that my YouTube channel has been on a decline since 2019, and that I am no longer relevant, mentioning that I was a widely disliked content creator, so it couldn't be possible that he was using me. For someone who apparently wasn't using me, InAllexx seems to have a lot of knowledge about my relevancy in YouTube statistics over a 5-year period, as shown in his statement. Fraser claims that I was always disliked, and that he was seen as an idiot for being friends with me, and then he wrote this in this paragraph. As you can see, this allegation is really strange to me. Yes, I regret being friends with Alex, but the suggestion I benefited with him is actually quite wild to me, considering it was a public thing of how disliked he was. I actually was seen as a bit of an idiot for remaining friends with him, and truthfully that's a fair criticism. These statements confused me as Fraser asked me personally if I wanted to start a podcast with him. I said yes because I believe that we were friends, and that he was asking me because we had been for years, as we had spent a lot of time together. Fraser writes in his document that we only saw each other walking his dog for the most part, and in mid-2023 we started gaming a lot more together and speaking way more than we usually did, and that obviously led to us making a podcast that lasted 4 episodes. October 2023 is around the time I'd moved out of London, and to suggest that we became friends after the fact is disingenuous. We had hung out regularly since we became friends in 2018, and we used to go on holiday abroad together. We had also kept in contact just as much when I moved away. To portray our friendship as only being a recent thing is just completely untrue. Fraser's statement is also incorrect, as we have actually also done 5 episodes of our podcast instead of the 4 that Fraser wrote in his document. Fraser travelled over an hour to visit me a month before Alice posted her TikToks and stayed at my house with friends as I'd moved outside of London. In our own podcast, Fraser says that we would talk every day, which is why we decided to start the podcast in the first place.
I've been a big fan of podcasts that go on and are just super casual between friends, and there's like 150 episodes.
But that's why I feel like this isn't going to be like your last ventures, because for one, you've always done it high budget, which is not like a thing to criticize, but it's like this is on Discord, like, and we speak to each other. We speak to each other every day. We're on calls, so like, there's no reason for us. It makes sense for us. We talk about YouTube all the time. We're always speaking about things going on. It makes sense to just get on camera like once or twice a week and just speak about it on a long form, hour to 2 hour thing.
After our call, Fraser didn't reach out to me at any point. I asked him if he leaked our messages, and then I saw the clip where Samuel claimed that Fraser had told him that I had been avoiding him the entire time, which, as you could see, was at no point true. Fraser posted on his Instagram story that I refused to share the private messages I had with Alice with him, but the reason that I didn't share them is because I was worried that they would be leaked, which is exactly what happened after I spoke to him. Fraser posted that he believed I might sue him for posting these stories, but I have no intention of doing so, and there would be no reason to worry if what he posted was actually true. Alice had followed everyone in my friendship circle months after our breakup, and was using my friends to gather information on me by posting videos that were intended to get a reaction out of me by falsely claiming that I am a convicted criminal. Alice wanted to find out what I would say to defend myself to my friends so that she could build the document backwards from this to make it look like I was lying. If Alice hadn't continued to harass me privately and publicly, I would never have had to tell my friends that she had been abusing me throughout our relationship, but due to the constant harassment, I was left with no choice. Alice wouldn't only just threaten me privately, but would also threaten me when we went out in public. Alice had threatened to punch me in the street, and then it began shouting at me. I walked away from Alice as soon as she had threatened me, and this is the text conversation that we had as I was walking away from her. I told Alice that she had gone too far by shouting that she would punch me in public, because we had had a small disagreement about me visiting her house, as Alice had told me that she was embarrassed, and she thought that I would leave her if I went over and saw her family and where she lived. Alice sent me these messages, and then said that she had done nothing wrong. I told her I didn't know if I wanted to come over anymore, as she had just threatened to hit me in public. Alice had shouted that she was going to hit me so loudly that I got a comment from someone who had seen me walking away after Alice had shouted at me, which I sent to her on iMessage. Not only did Alice threaten me throughout our relationship, but she also blackmailed me throughout the entire time we were together and afterwards. Alice has written in her document that after our breakup, I begged for her to come back, and I also sent gifts and a letter to convince Alice to get back with me because I wanted her to forgive me. But this is not an accurate version of what had happened, and it is a lot more complicated than Alice has portrayed. She had intentionally lied and left out hundreds of messages and events that do not show the reality of what was actually happening. Alice was continuously blackmailing me and had been abusing me for our entire relationship. I had tried to leave our relationship at many points, and Alice has taken this and wrote in her document that I would threaten to break up with her as a form of manipulation. This is not true, and I've shown that I tried to break up with Alice after she physically assaulted me and blackmailed me, and I stayed because she would threaten me if I tried to leave. When I told Alice I did not want to be involved with her anymore after we broke up, she began posting online the lie that I had a criminal record and that I was on Claire's law. Alice then started posting TikToks about me, and this led to the situation that she orchestrated when she had begun to follow all of my friends after we had broken up, so that I couldn't escape her. At one point, Alice told me that she wanted me to plan something soon, and then she said I should make her dinner. This is completely contradictory to the claims Alice has made in her document, where she says she had no interest in talking to me, as in reality, she was emotionally manipulating me and blackmailing me while she was writing a document on me at the same time, trying to dismantle my life. Alice accuses me of being manipulative after our breakup, even though when I tried to end things, Alice threatened to call the police and lie about me if I didn't back down. Alice said that I am the one who asked her to dinner, when as shown in these messages, it was Alice who asked me, and Alice has constantly accused me of doing the things that she has done in her document. Alice would continually emotionally abuse me and manipulate me whilst threatening me so that she could build her document on me, which she has constantly lied in. Alice complained that after she had moved out, I didn't seem panicked enough and sent me this text message. I moved out. I thought your mind would be more panicked that I won't come back. Alice also sent me text saying she had left because she wanted me to know what it's like to be without her. We had many conversations about getting back together, and when I realized I was being emotionally manipulated and blackmailed by Alice, I tried to break it off on multiple occasions.
It appears that besides physical abuse, emotional abuse and forcing the interaction of longing from the boys that she's with seems to be her particular weapon of choice. Maybe because she's used to weak men. Weak enough that they can be emotionally manipulated and they won't properly advocate for their own agency and defend themselves. This is definitely manipulative behavior from a narcissist.
This is when Alice began to start posting about me and following friends and making threats. Alice has written in her document that I'd refollow girls I had slept with, and that I told her I was going to refollow everyone that I had unfollowed for her. Alice had gone through and isolated me from my friends throughout our relationship, and was even stalking me after our breakup. I sent her this message to show that she was no longer in control of me and could no longer make me stop talking to my friends. Although we had been broken up for months at this point, Alice was still messaging me about the girls I had followed on Instagram or friends that I had refollowed. Alice sent me this message saying that any girl that I speak to would be ugly anyway, and proceeded to insult them after claiming that she hasn't tried.
So insulting women that he hasn't even met, saying that he can't get better than her.
Tried to stalk me or tried to control me in her document. I refollowed my friends when it became clear to me that I was being manipulated and blackmailed by Alice. This is because Alice had unfollowed them on my phone. I did not follow many girls I had had relations with, and we had not been together for months at this point. Alice has posted texts and videos of me begging for her back and apologizing to her. I understand how irrational my behavior looks, as I was going from one extreme to another emotionally. I was desperate for any form of solution, as it is clear from the voice notes and videos that Alice has shared that the constant emotional manipulation was having a severe effect on me, and I was saying whatever I thought I had to at the time to end the constant arguing, fighting, and blackmail. Alice would string me along intentionally whilst blackmailing me and threatening me if I didn't do exactly as she had asked. She would then tell me to send voice notes apologizing, and she would refuse to call me on the phone after making accusations about me cheating on her or being physically abusive, and threatening to tell people things about me that were not true. Alice had threatened me.
It's very likely that she kept asking for the voice notes versions of the apologies so that she could then use those voice notes to then go into the document that she was building. Look at how many times he had to apologize to me. Look at how many gifts he used to give me. He would just love bomb me all the time.
throughout our relationship, and I did as she asked in the hopes that the constant harassment and lying would eventually stop. I was worried that if I didn't do as she asked, that she would post more lies about me online. I would send Alice voice notes apologizing because I did many things wrong throughout our relationship. I should not have retaliated with the horrific language and insults, and I was deeply ashamed that I had lowered myself to that type of behavior. I continued to apologize because Alice had begun to lie about me and harass me after we had broken up. I found out later when my ex-girlfriend Jess contacted me that Alice had told her that she had been planning this document since January, the month that we had broken up. I was already aware that Alice had been planning something when we were together, as she would tell me that she would add stuff to her notes after we had had arguments and fights, and that if I ever broke up with her, she would post what she had on me on Instagram, and that I needed to change my behavior for her to work things out. Me and Alice stayed in contact for months after our breakup, and I told Alice that I was going to get 2 new kittens. Alice said that if I'm going to get 2 new kittens, I must not be planning on her moving back in, but I was under the impression that we had broken up and that our relationship was over. Alice was still trying to control my life and the decisions I made, using the possibility of us getting back together to control me, as I hoped that if we got back together, that means Alice would no longer blackmail me. I later realized that this was done intentionally so that Alice could use my breakdowns from the stress for her document. Alice also claims that I had been harassing her after our breakup, and that I turned up to her house to return items with a letter as proof of this. This entire story she has written is untrue. Alice wrote, he ended up sending things to my house like teddy bears and flowers, his hoodie that had been sprayed heavily with his aftershave, and a letter to try and achieve this. Alice has made it look like I'd taken it upon myself entirely to send her a letter and a teddy bear, and that I was turning up to her house uninvited without warning to deliver her things. This is a complete lie, as Alice had asked me to send her this letter and teddy bear directly, as shown in these screenshots. Alice sent me a TikTok about writing her a love letter. When I followed up by sending the TikTok to Alice on iMessage, I asked her if this is what she wanted. She said, "You do you, I just don't expect it." Alice has not included this, as not only does it show that she had asked me to do this, she was also blackmailing me at this time and threatening me when I didn't do as she had asked.
I mean, like, on one hand, you could just recognize that she's trying to play you and just simply stop interacting with her. I don't know. What kind of power does woman Coochie got over you? I don't know how else to ask this question, man. You fight with her, you put your hands on her, she fights with you and puts her hands on you and makes you stressed out to the point your body breaks out in hives. Like, this is usually a TikTok fucking explanation, but your body is literally rejecting her. Why do you keep going back and keeping in contact with her? That's first thing. Second thing, she's sending you love date ideas, which means she still wants you on the hook with her, even if this isn't some type of delusional, I'm gonna get him back, and if he doesn't take me back, I'm gonna ruin him for other women, kind of deal. Even then, when she's sending you those messages saying, I want you to do this, you can do whatever you want, but I want some spice and some romance. Even without knowing the context that she's trying to plan and run game on you, why even engage with it? At this point, you'd be better off getting back with your ex. What the fuck? Certainly, maybe they might have to consider, at YouTube, putting together a liaison course with a fuckboy as your friend and your account manager to help you understand what it looks like when a woman is socially playing you on the fucking timeline. Holy fuck! That's I'm not gonna say it's desperate, but that's, naive at best. Very naive. How many toxic women am I gonna end up reacting to? I can't give you that answer, just a girl. There are plenty of toxic women out there in the world. If I find them, or if horror finds them, or if another person in the audience finds them, we will talk about them, and I will laugh, and I will react, and I will sit here thinking, damn, did I dodge a bullet?
I'd also asked Alice if it was okay for me to deliver her the items she had left behind, and let her know when I was coming so that it wasn't a surprise to her, because Alice had accused me of stealing her belongings, even though at no point had I ever done anything but offer to return them after she had left. Not only did I want to return Alice's items, but I was tired of Alice accusing me of stealing them when at no point had I planned to keep hold of them. Alice had not asked for them to be returned up until the point of claiming that I had stolen them. Alice has now used the letter that she asked me to write, and the fact that I had delivered her these items as a tool to create a false narrative about me. On top of Alice making requests, it was clear to me that she would continue to threaten and blackmail me if I didn't do exactly as Alice had asked, and accusing me of stealing is just one example of this. Alice has also gone on to accuse me of smashing up her belongings, which is a lie. At no point had I broken anything of Alice's during our relationship, and as you can see from these messages that Alice has left out of her document, she sent me pictures of her monitors a few days after our argument, where Alice had falsely accused me of assaulting her and threatened to report me to the police because I'd asked Alice to stay away from me because I no longer wanted to be in a relationship with her. I told Alice I did not know how this happened, but I offered to pay for new ones to avoid any more arguments, as I was already drained from the constant false accusations, threats, and blackmail. Alice has fabricated a story about me breaking her glasses in her document, which is a lie. Alice used her notes as proof that this had happened, but has invented this story retroactively, as shown by the fact that it had been added after she had moved out, specifically for the document. Alice has posted videos of me threatening her in arguments, and firstly I would like to make it clear that it is completely unacceptable under any circumstances that I did this. I said horrific things in these arguments to hurt Alice, and we both said careless things to each other in the hopes that we could annoy the other person and upset them when we started to fight. The language used in our relationship had become deeply normalized, and I'm incredibly ashamed that I contributed to that. I was fully aware at the time that this was completely unacceptable, and nothing makes this behavior okay. Alice has continued to lie about the nature of our conversations, and made this tweet where she denied calling me a dog
at the very least, he apologized for what he did. We're not forgiving you. But considering what the other side has done, I had lied and I'd hit her and I had abused her because she was abusing me. I socially manipulate, I don't know what the fuck she sounds like. I socially manipulated him, and then I treated him like a fuckboy, and then I decided to say, if you don't do what I want, I will destroy your career. The base answer is throw both of them away, but clearly he's more of the victim here as we start seeing the evidence, chat.
any point, which as shown in this text message is a lie. In this thread of tweets made, people accused me of being drunk in these videos, which is untrue, and Alice even corrected this and told people that I did not drink throughout our relationship. Since Alice posted these, she has accused me of controlling behavior in a document and has lied about me many times in these stories that she has shared. Alice accused me of threatening to break up with her for liking followers' tweets, but has left out the singular tweet that she had liked and that we had had an entire text conversation about, as it would show that Alice was lying. When she was asked if these tweets were to do with cheating on Twitter, Alice said no and denied this. This once again is a lie. The entire conversation Alice references here is about cheating, and this is why she doesn't include or show the tweet and the hundreds of text messages that prove that she is lying once again, as she gaslit me and insulted me for hours and is now trying to make people believe an entirely different story. After our first date, Alice liked a tweet from a follower that said they could treat her better. As you can see from the screenshot of this conversation, I was not trying to control Alice. I was asking why she had liked a tweet that I felt that was disrespectful and was telling her it made me uncomfortable when I was trying to resolve the issue. At no point did I tell Alice to unlike fans' tweets, as that was not at all what our conversation was about, and I didn't make any demands or threats like Alice had claimed about her fans. I sent Alice the screenshot of her likes as it come up on my timeline. Alice was instantly dismissive, and then told me that she had done nothing wrong after she had started to ignore my messages. Alice then said she had liked more tweets and that she didn't care, and said bye to try and end the conversation. Told Alice how it made me feel and that I didn't like that she wasn't taking how I felt into consideration. Alice told me it wasn't a big deal and then began to ignore me. This would happen often when I bring up any issues with Alice. She would stonewall me to discourage me of trying to talk about any issues that I had. When I told her again it was disrespectful, Alice dismissed me. Alice then started telling me 80% of her DMs were people saying that they could treat her right, which didn't make me feel reassured at all. I didn't feel like Alice was trying to help, and I started to feel like Alice intentionally wanted me to feel insecure. Alice says that I am the one doing this and not her, and blames me for even bringing it up in the first place, as if I had started this argument when I was reacting to something that Alice had done that had upset me. Alice would do this often and would turn my reaction.
That's just victim blaming right there. That's just A-grade narcissistic Machiavellian handbook victim blaming right there. So she's just making him paranoid at this point.
Actions into the start point of arguments, totally ignoring what she had done that had upset me. Alice refuses to apologize again and says she had done nothing wrong. I told her it was disrespectful to do something like this publicly and that I didn't like it. Alice replies sarcastically saying she is sorry she ruins my rep and asked me what I want from her again. I then told Alice she was clearly trying to avoid saying anything to reassure me as she'd gone out of her way to do the opposite. Alice then claims she actually did reassure me and then sarcastically texts me that she won't ruin my rep again. Alice then begins to mock me for wanting her to apologize and then says sorry for liking a fan's tweet, which is not at all what I had an issue with, as Alice has tried to portray here and in her document. My issue was with the way she would treat me, and now she would have been upset if I had done something similar. Alice has lied again about why I was upset, and has hidden the hundreds of messages of me trying to have a conversation about this, and then has written in a document something that is completely untrue. Alice then tries to make me feel bad for bringing it up, and was adamant that all she had done was reassure me, and I told her that what she had done wasn't enough. Alice then starts to swear at me and insults me. This annoyed me, and I told Alice she can call me when she got back, as texting was clearly not working. And as a couple, I felt that now we needed to call to settle this issue, as it had become way bigger than it needed to be, as I felt Alice was now intentionally trying to upset me. Alice then says I tried to force an apology out of her, but at this point I was just upset that I felt that I had been forced into asking for one, but wasn't genuine, after Alice had continued to mock me. Alice then accused.
I would think that you would have needed to have a conversation about this way before any kind of moment like this situation. If your girl is actively entertaining, even showing you pictures of other people saying, "Buddy, I can treat you better than he can," then it has clearly gotten to the point. Where's the fucking thing? It has clearly gotten to the point where she does not respect you, and she is clearly trying to wire your ass up so she can make you even crazier. It's clear to me that that is an explicit choice, and it comes from a place of disrespect. High levels of disrespect. I wouldn't let that happen to me, though. I wouldn't let it happen to me, though. I am remiss to ask, why not take the hint? Since this is clearly being done to drive you mad. Clearly, she does not care as much as you do. So you would simply just leave. Obviously, to me. At least as much as I see it. For how you are involved with her, you would just leave. You would just leave. Like, putting into consideration that you need to clearly go to emotional therapy to figure out how to speak about your behaviors and actions in a relationship with another person. Just recognize at that point when she decides to wire you up about other people that it's done. There are several points in this entire display where you could have literally just taken the hint and left. Because if you had left, then she would have had no power over you. Because any and all power that she had over you is explicit to how much you let her have the upper hand. Now, I mind you, and I am remiss to remind you, that it's not about winning. It's about centering how she treats you and seeing that she does not care the way that you care. So she clearly wants to fuck with you and clearly wants to hurt you as much as she can possibly manage to. And in choosing to hurt you, she's making it clear. Which one am I supposed to put this on? She's making it clear that hurting you is just half the fun. So, if she's willing to hurt you like this, then you have to accept that the choice comes from something wrong with her, not the people who are texting her. Because if she was in the relationship for you, she would not let people speak to her that way, and she would definitely not allow it to continue on as a back and forth. Again, wouldn't let that be me though. But considering that this is how she chooses to treat you, it is at that point that you should have said, nah, fuck that. I'm not taking it anymore. That would have worked out better than simply letting her turn your screws up. There you go.
Accused me of being the person who was throwing a fit and continues to downplay that I was upset that what I had seen was disrespectful and on some level a form of cheating. Alice says I heard you, to which I respond in detail with why I felt like everything Alice had done was not acceptable or an apology. I felt I was communicating clearly, but Alice mocked me again and said, yes, Dad. I then got upset even more because I felt I was being belittled and mocked. Alice then sent me another sarcastic apology when I mentioned again how disrespected I had felt. Alice then calls me a baby and tells me she doesn't understand why I was upset at all in the first place. I told Alice I felt she was more concerned with having to say sorry than she was about me being upset, and that her response threw me massively. Alice calls me a child and immature. I admit I could have handled things better from the start, but from reading these conversations back, it's clear to me that no matter what I had done, I was going to be mocked and insulted for bringing up how I felt. I then asked Alice if she wanted to talk on call instead, as I struggled with communicating over text, and I thought that would make it easier. Alice then tells me that she's going to scream at me. Alice continues to insult me and calls me a baby again. I told her that this was not necessary and that I didn't like having to fight with Alice to be taken seriously. Alice responded by spamming me with messages. I asked her to stop, to which Alice said that all of this had happened because of how I talked to her, blaming me for the whole argument, and gaslighting me that she had actually been reassuring me from the start. I made it clear again the issues I had with the way the conversation unfolded. Alice responded with insulting me again and blaming me for why she'd tried to belittle me and hurt my feelings. Alice says I did not acknowledge her or her apology, but at no point had Alice apologized to me in these text messages at all in any way. Alice at first tries to gaslight me and questions it being a sarcastic apology. She then says that it's what I wanted to hear, and then proceeds to gaslight me again that I have misinterpreted the entire conversation. I start to get annoyed at this point as it's clear that Alice is intentionally trying to gaslight me about what had taken place. Alice then proceeded to argue with me and spam me again. Alice begins to gaslight me again to avoid apologizing, and when I tell her to read it from my perspective, she calls me Delulu. I called out Alice for gaslighting me, and she replied saying she says it how it is. Alice has gone on to write another story in her document about me which is completely untrue. Alice writes in her document that after going through my phone she found pictures of my ex-girlfriends on there, and this once again is a complete lie.
I mean, even if she found pictures of your ex-girlfriend on your phone, it's your phone. Why would she need to be concerned about pictures of other women that aren't her, that she violated your privacy to go into? Because the context that she finds them in matters, but then also at the same time, she would know that they're your ex-partners. The most that she could ask for is for you to delete them. But if she can't accept what answers from there, that's whatever. I'm more concerned with this comment that you just explained about her.
again to avoid apologizing, and when I tell her to read it from my perspective, she calls me Delulu. I called out Alice for gaslighting me, and she replied saying she says it how it is. Alice has gone on to write another story.
So she is more than happy to call you delusional, but then at the same time, when you ask her for the basic kind of understanding that a partner could ask a person to give, she then says, I'm not mean, I'm not rude, I'm not toxic, I just tell the truth. I just tell it how it is. That's clear narcissistic behavior. Everyone's at fault, you're always right, everyone's always wrong. There's never any situation where you can say that you have seen something or that you may have possibly been out of line with how you communicated something. That's definitely in the dark triad. And she's more than happy to abuse it because, hey, this is a man. How does a man know how to deal with a woman's language? Tee-hee-hee. More of this shit starts condemning her, the more it keeps going on.
Or in her document about me, which is completely untrue. Alice writes in her document that after going through my phone, she found pictures of my ex-girlfriends on there, and this once again is a complete lie. Alice says, he ended up being secretive over his phone, but what I then discovered was him stalking his ex on all social platforms. In brackets, it's been years since they broke up, and found her old NSFW pictures he kept of her. He said sorry, and that was it. Alice also showed a message that says, it was never an issue before, so why is it now, in regards to going through my phone. This is because I had refused to give Alice my phone. Alice has created this story and put it in her document, despite saying on Twitter that at no point did I ever cheat, which makes no sense, as that is what she accuses me of doing throughout the entire document. Alice had complete access to my phone and social media from the moment we began dating, and the moment I tried to stop this from happening, Alice got annoyed at me, accused me of cheating, and threatened to break up with me, but has cropped these messages out of her document. Alice had full access to my phone from the moment we began dating, and would come in my room daily to check on who I'd been talking to. This started the first couple weeks into dating after Alice slapped me because I'd been invited to a party in LA by a TikToker. I didn't respond to the message and showed it to Alice, which resulted in her still being upset at me for being in contact with any female influencers or friends. Alice told me she would only feel better if she could slap me, and if she was allowed to go through my friends list and unfollow and block people, which became a regular occurrence throughout our relationship. Alice forced me to cut contact with many.
That's just explicitly toxic. Part of trust and boundaries that usually, tends to be a male on female violation. Partner sees a person being talked to by opposite sex. They get uncomfortable. They then say, for my sanity, please delete and or block their number. You don't need to be talking to them. Especially if the person in question isn't somebody who's a part of a friend group. It's literally just some fucking guy. A work husband, a relative, a friendly relative of the group, a hanger-on, a potential rebound that they may or may not have been talking to, but recently had been cut off and taken off the roster because they were now no longer on the market. Usually, this is when the man then gets jealous and the woman keeps confiding in the person, and then the person tries something on the woman. This is how it sometimes usually goes. Sometimes it could be the man has something on the side, and the reason that he's worried is because he's jealous that she's doing the same thing he is, and blase, blase, blase. Instead, she was the one to get angry at him for being given an invite to an LA event by a TikToker. And instead of being reasonable, she chose to do the female toxic thing and then actively behaved in a considerable toxic manner. So by all degrees and semblance of logic, she just fully went off the fucking rocker on reservation and became entitled in female privilege. Because this is female privilege right here. The ability to start a situation and a problem that would not have been a problem and also would not be true because it's a reflection of her actions and how she carried them out, then framing her actions as positive, lying about them by obfuscation, or outright explicit lying, and then making him seem like he's hyper-controlling when she is equal to or greater than controlling than he can be or could be, in this case, seemingly more than him. She is for the streets! She's for the streets!
Many girls I had known for years, and I allowed this because I did not want to be slapped over something that was easily preventable. I thought it would be easier to let Alice have access to my phone than to potentially start a fight that would end up with me being hit or having my phone taken because I would be accused of potentially cheating on Alice, even though I never replied to these messages that I received. In the instance that Alice is referring to, I had refused to give her my phone because I had reached out to a friend of mine and I had told them that Alice had been hitting me, and that I didn't know what to do about it as she had threatened and blackmailed me when I had tried to leave our relationship. Alice had tried to grab my phone out of my hand, which is why she sent me these text messages. Alice would come in my room and take my phone off me on random occasions daily to go through my socials, which she admits to in this document. I hadn't deleted the messages with my friend, so I refused to give Alice my phone because I knew if she found out I had told anyone about the abuse, things would get worse. In the text Alice shows in the document, she leaves out that I said she could come and take my phone if she wanted it. Alice then threatens to leave me if I don't let her look at my phone after calling me guilty for holding onto it when she tried to take it out of my hand by force. Alice accused me of cheating and stalking my ex-girlfriends because I would no longer give her access to my phone. On this occasion where I held onto my phone, Alice tried to take it out of my hand and then pushed me when I refused. To make it clear, I at no point had access to Alice's phone and I had never asked for it. For our entire relationship, Alice had full access to my phone, went through my following and text messages, and would threaten me and hit me if I refused to hand over my phone or unfollow people who I...
Yeah, that's definitely a bit of a that's a taste of that female hypocrisy and that female entitlement.
knew. If I refused, she would take my phone later that day and unfollow them anyway. Alice would accuse me of cheating because she knew I would hand her my phone to show her that I hadn't been. I find it incredibly confusing that Alice has accused me of controlling behaviour when Alice has openly admitted in this document to having full access to my phone to the point where she has written a story about me where she was upset that I refused to let her take it off of me as if I was the abusive one for not letting her have it. Alice wrote in her document that time passed and small things became huge issues which were over Discord at first. Alex felt that because I am home all day and work from home that I would be able to call 24/7 and completely shut out any other social interactions I have with my friends. To avoid that, I invited him into my groups and I stopped working as much. This is untrue. Alice had told me that she wanted to quit her job as an OnlyFans model. It was her idea and not mine. The arguments about work stemmed from many things. We would both insult each other and belittle each other. Our relationship was horrifically toxic, and none of this is acceptable. Alice had willingly invited me into our friendship circle to play games with her and her friends, and I had invited Alice into mine. Alice would insult me when I was working, and would insult my friends when I would play games with them, and accuse me of not spending any time with her. We were both incredibly toxic, petty, and mean to each other, and painting this behaviour as one-sided is unfair and untrue. We had both behaved despicably, and the more time we spent with each other, the more toxic our relationship became. After I moved in with Alice, Alice wouldn't let me go see any of my friends, and when I was invited to a party, Alice told me that I couldn't go. Me and Alice argued in person about my invite to this party, and Alice told me that I couldn't go because I had responsibilities, although at the time I had had nothing planned and I was not aware that I had something to do on that weekend. The more the conversation went on, the more Alice told me that I would have to deal with the consequences if I went, and it made me very much feel like I was not allowed to go. Alice then began to guilt trip me and tried to make me feel bad for ever suggesting that I wanted to go to see my friends in the first place. When the party ended up happening, I didn't go, and all of the things that Alice said that I would have to be responsible for didn't happen, as it was not true, and it was simply being used as a way to keep me from going to the party. Throughout the time we lived together, Alice had friends and family around on multiple occasions, but I was not allowed to do the same. Alice was going through my phone and cutting me off from people I knew and would argue with me if I spent time in my office working or talking to the few friends that I had left. I had chosen to live near Alice and her family because that's what she wanted. But when I wanted to see my friends and family, Alice would make excuses for why I couldn't leave the house. Alice has posted in her document that I didn't ask her to move in and that I just assumed that she would. Not only do I find this accusation odd, it is also completely untrue. Alice's mum drove us to viewings together, and it was something that we had been planning for months. I did multiple viewings of Alice, and we ended up picking a house together and moving in with each other, which would not be possible if I hadn't asked, as we were both on the lease. This is something that we had mutually discussed, and I do not understand why Alice has written this. Alice says in her document that she told me she was scared to move in, and has screenshotted this exact text message in real time so that it could be used to build her document that she had been writing throughout our relationship. I was incredibly confused at why Alice had messaged me this after all the viewings we had gone to together. Obviously, I was not unaware of how horribly toxic our relationship was, as I tried to leave at many points, but I had been threatened or blackmailed out of doing so. I believe that Alice sent this so that she could retroactively build the full story she has ended up sharing publicly on social media, as there was never any concern for her safety shown at any point before this, and that's because I was never physically abusive towards Alice, and she knows this, as the only person constantly complaining about being physically abused was me. Alice had complained about me insulting her, but as I've shown, I would react badly to the constant physical abuse and gaslighting that I was being put through, which Alice has completely denied and hidden from her document. Alice has also gone on to accuse me of kicking her in her document, but what she has written is a completely false version of events. Alice says in her document that on her way out of the kitchen, I kicked her in the back, and that she turned away and said nothing. This story has been changed many times since this argument took place. When it happened, Alice texted me saying that I had only stuck a leg out. This is because I never kicked Alice, and her story has been greatly exaggerated to make me look like I had been physical with Alice throughout our relationship instead of her. Alice texted me recalling events after she had left, as we had texted each other about the argument that we had just had, and it's not at all what she has written in her document. Alice has taken this and then gone on to accuse me of kicking her in future arguments when it's not at all what had happened, as shown in these text messages. Alice started accusing me of kicking her for leverage against me, and started to say I kicked her when I tried to talk to her about the issues I've been bringing up throughout our relationship, and has now written a story backwards from this, which is untrue. Alice shared a video from the same day of me following her around and yelling at her. I'm incredibly angry and upset in this video. The only context given is that Alice says that this is when I kicked her, which as I have shown is not what she had said.
The fucking window broke
At the time in the text messages, as it is not what happened. I was angry and upset because Alice had hit me and then had began to threaten me. When I got angry and started to lose my temper, Alice recorded me. Alice says that she recorded this because she was scared that I'd hit her again, but this is false as I hadn't kicked her or hit her. Alice has then begun recording me halfway through an argument that started because she had hit me after we had argued on the sofa as a way to pass off a completely false story. I shouldn't have followed Alice around.
Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3 mental cases, and whatever my notes here. At least 5 different instances of her using integers that she incited as a justification to propose him as being violent.
Around and ranted at her and insulted her, but I was incredibly upset with how she had hit me, and then began to blame me for why she was abusing me, and she told me I deserved it. This is why I started listing all the things I had issues with, as I thought it was ridiculous that Alice had assaulted me again, and then treated me like I was the only part of the problem, and entirely responsible for why our relationship was so toxic. The kicking incident would be brought up in many arguments from this point on. The more we would fight after the breakup, the more I pulled away, and the more Alice would change the story to sound worse, and would tell me to apologize for kicking her after tormenting and blackmailing me. Alice has wrote in our document that I carried many issues into our relationship, and has written that she is an empath, and that I am a narcissist. This is not what I was told by Alice when we started dating. Alice had told me that she had borderline personality disorder, but that she was self-diagnosed. I am confused why this has not been mentioned at any point in this document, as it was a big part of our relationship, and how we interacted with each other. Alice sent me a video on TikTok after we had an argument, where she began to verbally abuse me, go through my phone, and hit me during our arguments.
Do you or someone you know possibly have borderline personality disorder? Here are the key features. An intense fear of abandonment, even going to extreme measures to avoid it, whether it's real or just imagined. A pattern of unstable, intense relationships, such as idealizing someone 1 minute, and then as soon as that person falls short on something, seeing them as totally bad. Rapid changes in self-identity and self-image, sometimes even shifting their goals, shifting their values, or viewing themselves as bad, or sometimes even feeling as if they don't exist at all. Periods of paranoia that seem to be related to being stressed, and a loss of contact with reality, which can last from a few minutes to a few hours. Impulsive and risky behaviors that are fun in the moment but have a high chance of danger, such as gambling, reckless driving, unsafe sex, spending sprees, binge eating, drug abuse, or even sabotaging success by quitting a good job or ending a positive relationship. Suicidal threats or suicidal behavior, or even self-injury, often in response to the person fearing separation or abandonment. Wide mood swings that can last from a few hours to a few days and can include intense happiness or irritability or shame or anxiety. Ongoing feelings of emptiness. And here's the kicker: inappropriate, intense anger, such as losing their temper, being sarcastic or bitter, or even getting involved in physical fights. If you or someone you know is exhibiting a lot of these signs a lot of the time, it might be borderline personality disorder.
Alice had sent me this as an explanation for her behaviour, because I did not understand why she had been hitting me and insulting me from what seemingly came from nowhere. Alice told me that
Well, considering the fact he went and actually got diagnosed, and she said, actually, look at this TikTok. This is the reason why I treat you like shit. This is, once again, another fucking point in Alex's fucking column.
she had a mental illness, and that was why she was having these issues, and she wanted me to understand. I told Alice I didn't like the TikTok as she had sent it to me out of the blue, and that I would prefer to have a proper conversation about something that was this serious. Alice says I was making her feel bad about her being her, and that I should know this stuff about her. I told her it was not something that I worried about, as I wanted to reassure Alice that it was something that we could talk about, and that I could understand it. To be clear, I was not diagnosed with BPD at the time of this conversation. I told Alice that it makes me anxious receiving a video unprompted about our relationship, saying that she would see me as entirely bad if I fall short, as I felt that that was a lot of pressure to put on someone when the reactions to my shortcomings were for Alice to become more controlling and physically abusive. I took it personally, and looking back on these messages, I should have handled this a lot better. I felt that I was being told that I could no longer speak up in our relationship, so I was being told that every issue was the result of this mental illness. I was worried that if I tried to talk about my problems, it would upset Alice or trigger her. After Alice told me that she had BPD, I chalked down a lot of the reactions and responses I was getting to Alice's mental illness. To see it not mentioned at all in the document, and to see Alice describe herself as an empath, is something that deeply confuses me, as it is not what I had been told throughout our relationship. Alice has also written a story about her birthday, where she accuses me of cancelling it. Alice wrote that he ended up cancelling coming to see me on my birthday, in brackets, or forgot it, and went to see Star Wars with his friend instead of seeing me. When I told him it was my birthday, he ended up going out after the movie to grab a gift and eventually came to my place at midnight. I spent the whole day waiting for him. He invalidates my feelings after I said I got upset about it and tried to justify it by hanging out properly before my birthday came. Everything that Alice has written about this is a lie. I did not forget Alice's birthday or cancel it, and the text messages from the day show that what Alice has written here is untrue. I was booked into a Star Wars premiere by my management, and I texted Alice straight away and made her aware that I was working earlier in the day, but that I could come over late. We hadn't arranged anything at this point, and there were no prior plans. I was telling Alice when I was available, and I had work booked earlier in that day. I thought it was completely ordinary to go from work to see Alice on her birthday. I did not forget or cancel it. I did the opposite as shown in these messages, and I made plans a week in advance. Alice has written that I tried to arrange hanging out properly to justify apparently forgetting her birthday, even though the conversation was about her birthday and making plans for seeing her. This has nothing to do with Alice's birthday. I was simply telling her I wanted to hang out properly that day because the previous day we hadn't talked for very long. Alice then says I went to see a movie, but this is unfair as it was scheduled for work, and I was transparent about this. It was never made apparent to me that Alice was upset about this or that this was at any point an issue. I had to attend work so I could pay for everything, especially due to the situation I was in financially with my YouTube network. Alice has said that I bought her a single gift after seeing the movie, and that I eventually came to hers at midnight. I called Alice at 1 past midnight, the moment it had become our birthday, and I know this because I sent a picture of me calling Alice on iMessage, and we then spoke on Discord where I wished her happy birthday. Not only did I also text Alice throughout the day before I left to see her, I wished her happy birthday on the text messages again for the second time after our call earlier in the morning. I had also bought Alice gifts in advance and wrapped them, and she knows this because I'd already showed her that I had wrapped them before. It's not possible that I forgot Alice's birthday and only bought one gift when I'd sent her a picture of her presents that I had wrapped, and conveniently, this has been left out of the document as it doesn't fit the story that Alice has created. Alice says that I cancelled her birthday and that she had to tell me it was her birthday because I had forgotten it, but this is not true. I had sent text to Alice about being excited to see her on her birthday, and I had gone out to get her some more gifts on the day of her birthday to add to the ones I had already bought her and wrapped. I texted her asking for her wrist size for the bracelet that I was buying her as an add-on to the presents I had already wrapped and ordered online. Alice says that she had spent the whole day waiting for me, but we texted the entire day. She was completely aware of when I was going to arrive and what my schedule with work was. I asked Alice to send me her address so that I could walk from the station, and then proceeded to send her a photograph of me carrying the bag of gifts that I had bought for her as I walked to her house. I did see Alice on her birthday as we had planned. I did not buy her one last-minute gift on the way from work as I brought everything with me. I went directly from work to see Alice as we had planned, and when I arrived everything was fine fine, and there was no complaints about this, because once again, it was exactly as we had arranged. The entire paragraph that Alice has written about her birthday is a complete lie. I was confused when I read this originally, as everything was so clearly a provable lie. I believe this was written because Alice had forgotten my birthday, and I complained about this on text when it happened, and because of this, Alice has written a story to make it seem like I had forgotten hers instead. Alice has also written in a document about the time that she had told me that she had been sexually assaulted in the past. Alice wrote that we ended up going on holiday together to Italy in July, and an argument came about when he was watching a video about a girl being hypersexual after trauma. I opened up to him about my essay, and the trauma that I've been through myself. In response to this, he tells me he doesn't want to know what has been done to me by other guys, and I ended up leaving into another room crying. He threatened to leave and get a flight back on his own, taking into account this was my only third time abroad, and he knew that it would make me very upset and scared, like he knew I needed him there with me.
There's no way that's fucking real. There's no way the conversation went like that. Maybe he would have said, I didn't want to know about anything rough that they had done with you, mainly because he didn't want to be dismissive. Because that's a very hard conversation to lay on a guy, and I don't think he reacted that way. So since I already know that you have a propensity of lying, Alice, this is definitely not going to help you.
Bring up weird shit on our first holiday, you ruin every moment, I have no fond memories with you. I spoke about something I'd gone through with the trauma, opening up to him about my experience of SA, and this is how he responded. This is not what happened at all. I was scrolling through TikTok and watching a video because I was about to record, when Alice, who was standing behind me out of nowhere, told me that she had slept with many people due to hypersexuality. The video I was watching was not about sexual trauma at all, so I was massively taken aback by this comment, and thought it was an odd thing to say on the first day of our holiday. I was not really sure what to say as a response, so I told Alice that I didn't like how she had brought this up, and I didn't think it was the best way to start a conversation about something as serious and delicate as this. She didn't open up to me about being sexually assaulted. I was not even aware of the conversation and what it was about, as Alice had only made a passing comment about hypersexuality and her previous partners. After I finished work, I went to the bedroom to talk to her, and she refused to speak to me. Alice then told me that I should sleep on the sofa. I was more than willing to talk about whatever Alice wanted to, and I apologized for upsetting her. When I mentioned again that I...
Wait for it to resync. Returned. We have returned. Get your F's out. Mainly so I can make sure the chat is functioning. Again. F's in chat. We should be back. Was probably disconnected for about 30 seconds. So it'll take you guys about maybe 8 seconds to resync. F's in the chat, boys. F's in the chat. No F's in chat, boys. Are we alive? It says that we are, but I don't know. We probably lost a little bit of some people. Okay, looks like we're okay.
We had begun dating, and after our breakup, Alice had blackmailed me and was using my reactions to build a document. So she started to follow people that I knew and had personal connections with to try and trigger a reaction from me. Alice followed the person who I had told her had sexually assaulted me in the hopes that I would react. I was incredibly upset that Alice was using something deeply personal that I told her about in confidence as a way to get to me. Alice messaged me saying that I knew why, and then went on to clarify that she did this because she was upset with me. We continued to talk about it, and this is when Alice told me that I should have fought back. I blurred the names as I have no interest in making this a public matter, and I have no intention to discuss this publicly beyond this, as I hoped it would remain private between us. But Alice has since used this to try and hurt me, and has accused me of doing exactly what she'd been doing intentionally to induce a mental breakdown that she could use for her document. Alice has still been harassing me online to this day, and has begun to go after other people that she believes are friends with me. Alice posted a series of comments on TikTok, claiming that every YouTuber who has similar thumbnails is working with me or for me. Fabricating stories that I am employed by any YouTuber who makes commentary videos is ridiculous and untrue. I have seen recently that multiple YouTubers have made videos on my former editor, Danky Jabo. They have accused him of being mentored by me, and they claim that we are
there
friends.
we go. There we go. There it is. There it is. There it is.
True. I have seen recently that multiple YouTubers have made videos on my former editor, Danky Jabo. They've accused him of being mentored by me, and they claim that we are friends. Because of this accusation, Danky Jabo has lost over 11,000 subscribers. The reason this rumor began is because Alice messaged the YouTuber known as Cataclysm and told her that a friend of hers had messaged Danky Jabo because he still followed me, and this can be found in a video that Cataclysm has deleted.
Standing by somebody who has been outed as an abuser or who you know is an abuser just because Alex has done, for example, a little bit for you and helped your career, you're a scumbag. You're an enabler, and you don't genuinely believe in what you're talking about. A little example I have here is I received a screenshot from Alice, which was one of Alice's friends in contact with a content creator called Danky Jabo. Basically, Danky Jabo got a DM from someone who Alice knows, Alice being ImAllexx's ex-girlfriend, saying, "Is there a reason you still follow and work for an abusive piece of shit?" To which Jesse, Danky Jabbo, replied and said, "I'm so sorry, mate. I'll unfollow the annoying orange right now."
Because one of Alice's friends decided to reach out to him and ask why, if it was an accident, if he meant to unfollow him, or if he just didn't know what was going on.
I do not understand why my ex-girlfriend and her apparent friends have been messaging people who still follow me 8 months after I've stopped posting entirely and over a year since we have broken up. Alice to this day is trying to interfere with my personal life by attempting to isolate me, going as far as harassing people because she believes that we know each other. Alice went after my friends and is now scouting my social media and encouraging YouTubers to expose people based on whether they follow my inactive social media accounts. Alice took the DM that she claimed a friend had sent her from Danky Jabo and sent it to Cataclysm, who then proceeded to make various posts and YouTube videos claiming that Danky Jabo was a misogynist, an abuse apologist, and even hearted a comment claiming that he could be a future sexual assaulter.
From the moment I ignored her offer to join call with her and her friends, she had begun randomly messaging me unwarranted, hateful messages whenever she felt like it. Not only that, but she was also hearting comments on her YouTube channel that accused me of being a potential sexual assaulter. The fact that either of you act as though you were trying to be fair at any point, that you were trying to be respectful at any point, is honestly laughable.
Cataclysm posted that she wanted to expose someone so bad. This was a tweet made before Cataclysm had uploaded any video or live stream about Danky Jabo, who she then went on to expose by revealing this DM that Alice had sent her, claiming that this was proof that we knew each other. Alice responded to the tweet that Cataclysm made, saying that she would do it for her, when Cataclysm claimed that she couldn't expose Danky Jabo for legal reasons. Cataclysm then made tweets about Danky Jabo that were negative, that Alice retweeted and shared. These tweets can no longer be found, as Cataclysm has deleted her Twitter account after Danky Jabo's response video.
I'm pretty sure I've seen her post a couple of places, and she's made a return, but I do not recall what the sub-handle of the account was. Not necessary, not important, but...
Alice has not only continued to harass me for the last year, but has now gone after my former editor and tried to cancel him because she created a conspiracy that he is a friend of mine and that we work with each other. This has led to him being slandered and harassed online by various content creators who have now apologized because of this lie that she had started. Other YouTubers have also claimed that because our thumbnails were similar, we must be friends.
One of the only pieces of evidence that they show are that our thumbnails are similar.
You can even tell the blatant mentoring through the exact same thumbnail design. They use the exact same thumbnail design. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just more proof that he mentored him or taught him his ways.
This is also a point made by both Cataclysm and an actual old friend of Alex and Jake Baz, who was previously featured on his channel before.
When Alex stopped posting because of everything that happened, Jesse then started posting very much in the style of Alex, with Alex's thumbnails, etc., etc.
Coincidentally, your thumbnails seems to be only since he's quit, your thumbnails have started getting a lot more like Alex's, which is weird. Why would you only just start doing that now, coincidentally, when he stops uploading?
However, the great irony of this point is that the very thumbnails on the streams that my thumbnails are being criticized on are the exact thumbnail style that somehow prove that Alex is mentoring me.
These YouTubers accuse Danky Jabo of being mentored by me based on his style of thumbnails, but Jake Baz and Cataclysm have also taken my thumbnail style and used it in the very videos where they attempt to cancel him, after making multiple videos calling me an abuser.
And not only that,
not only just basically demonstrating that by osmosis, none of them understand that the cytogenesis of content creation through thumbnail design just makes it seem like a very out there take. But because now he's had to address this directly, since you guys decide to fuck with him directly, at the very minimum and at the very least, he is now able to at least address how, because you were so thirsty to attack him, you attacked other people. Well, at the very minimum, when he tried to isolate himself so that other people weren't affected, you still went out of your way to create problems for him and other people you decided must be in on it. So, to every single categorical degree, he is less toxic. Still toxic, but less toxic than Alice in this instance. And because he's had to come out and say, well, he didn't have to come out and say so, but because this happened, he now gets to have the benefit of coming out and demonstrating how thirsty you were to actually destroy him, and how this destroys your argument about him being an abusive monster that would do anything he can to get back at you. Because it's actually the inverse.
But Cataclysm still continues to use the very thumbnails that she's criticizing me for to this day. By that logic, is she also being mentored by Alex? No, obviously not, because it's just a YouTube thumbnail. And like I said, I haven't spoken to Alex since my last payment from him. He has nothing to do with my channel.
To take my fun.
Yeah, it's more or less the default drama thumbnail, subject matter on one side, superimposed rule of thirds, transparency image of yourself on the other. Anybody uses them. I've made thumbnails with this design before, but usually I try to go with making ones with different facial expressions based on my energy going into the video. Like, anybody could make it, and yet at the same time, the instance and the inference is that he basically tried to subsume his career after he goes offline as a way to perpetuate himself, which is bullshit. So they literally not only tried to cancel him, but try to cancel anyone attached to him to subsume their audience into their audience.
thumbnail style after calling me an abuser, whilst attacking another content creator for doing the same, is ridiculous and unfair, especially when the goal was to try and ruin somebody's YouTube career.
You would not have made this many baseless accusations against me that do not accurately represent the conversations that took place between us. You wouldn't excitedly be tweeting about how much you wanted to expose me, and you wouldn't be saying shit like this on stream.
And it makes me feel like sad. Like I just want to like log into his channel and delete it. Like it needs to be deleted.
Another ridiculous piece of evidence that they use is that I still follow ImAllexx's Instagram account.
Also, what some people have noticed, which is what Katie alluded to in a video as well, is that Danky Jabo is still following Alex. So, this is true. If I had a look earlier before the stream. So, Danky Jabo is following Alex and is still followed by Alex as well. So, they're still around each other. That's what I do know.
Apparently, and still now, Jesse followed and still follows ImAllexx.
Now, Danky Jabo was still following Alex.
If our thumbnails being the same and someone following me means that I am mentoring them, then why until a few weeks ago did Cataclysm still follow me on TikTok and use my thumbnail style? This does not mean that we are friends, or that I am mentoring Cataclysm. I find it ridiculous that this has been used to prove that I am friends with people, when the same people saying this are doing the exact same. Cataclysm also went on to do a live stream where she made claims about me that are untrue.
Alex said stuff about me, and I didn't even know him. Like Alex was like cocky as shit because like I followed Alex for quite a long time, and Alex made a comment being like, "Oh, I should probably follow her back at some point," and he made some weird comment, like as if like I don't know, it was just weird. It was like kind of patronizing.
I had followed Katie on Twitter and we had interacted once, and she wished me a happy birthday. I did not follow Katie back on Instagram because Alice had accused me of getting close with Katie, even though we had never called or spoken outside of this DM. I sent this to Alice to show that we only ever had one interaction to prove that I was not involved with Cataclysm in any way. These messages were 2 months after we had broken up, as Alice was still monitoring my social media activity and friendship circle and trying to prevent me from being friends with anyone, something that she is still doing to this day. I would like to apologise to Danky Jabo. My actions are not something that he is responsible for, and I apologise that I did not respond sooner. For the last year, I have been in and out of hospital, and this greatly delayed my response, and I was unable to make a video at this time, and that is why it's taken me so long to address this. In this time, Alice has posted many things about me that are untrue, and has posted this TikTok that people believed is in reference to me.
Don't ask me about my ex, let's just pretend that nigga died. Ain't no pressure by no nigga, tell his ass to fall in.
Alice says that she had done everything she could and pressed charges on me. This never happened, and once again is another lie. Since Alice posted a document, 2 of my ex-girlfriends made posts about me. My ex-girlfriend Jess, who I dated in 2019, wrote a statement that she had then deleted before she reached out to me to talk privately. Jess told me that Alice had contacted her and had lied about a police investigation and asked her to make a statement to back hers. Me and Jess have spoken to each other many times since, and we have resolved this, and I greatly appreciate that she reached out to me. King Anna, a YouTuber who I dated in 2018, has also posted a statement about me online. There is no evidence to support anything that has been written in this statement, and that's because what was written is completely untrue. At no point during our relationship did I at any point ever get physical. To write a statement that contains no screenshots, texts, or evidence to support these false claims shows them for what they are. Baseless and untrue. Me and Anna continued to stay in contact with each other after the breakup. We had met up at multiple gaming conventions in England and Los Angeles, and all of these messages were over a year after we had broken up, as we hadn't had any form of falling out, and we had maintained a friendship after our relationship had ended. Anna wrote in her document that it was the most toxic relationship she had ever been in, and that she was lucky to get out of it when she did. But we had stayed in contact for an entire year after, and Anna had even come round to my flat in London, where we had food and went out for dinner.
I'm out. It was the worst time I've ever had in my life, especially when he took me out for crumpets and tea before we went to go to the movies.
A year after our breakup, I was invited to and took part in King Anna's charity livestream event because she had asked me to be a guest.
Oh no! Not demonstrated proof that you hung around him after. Oh no! Jumping on the bandwagon. 2 shits, you say?
Believed that we were on good terms after our breakup, and that there was never any issues brought up with me personally in the entire time that we knew each other. And this was the first time that I had heard of these completely false and baseless allegations that she has made against me. To see a statement that has retroactively been built on my abusive relationship with my ex-partner Alice deeply upsets me. Anna has also used this as an opportunity to blame me for a situation we were involved in with another YouTuber called Slazzo. The messages between us at the time show that Anna wrote the statement on Slazzo with his ex-girlfriend Shay, and that I ignored this message at the time that she had sent it to me. I was aware of the situation, but I had no involvement in writing anything, and Anna had even messaged me acknowledging that I didn't want to be involved, which is why I had not replied to her messages where she had tried to involve me. To write that everyone got the blame for something that I had apparently made up, when in reality, as shown here, Anna was the person who had written the statement, is ridiculous and a blatant lie. I should never have shared what Anna and Shay had written, and I apologised privately to Slazzo when it took place at the time. I wish no ill will to any of my previous partners, and I understand that claiming my innocence in these relationships will be difficult, but I cannot accept these false allegations that have been made against me. Mia Xmon, an influencer and content creator who was under the same management as me, posted a statement which is a complete lie. Mia claims that she spoke to my management and that they dropped me in June 2023 because she had made them aware of the rumours surrounding me and my relationship with Alice. Mia says that she put pressure on my management to drop me due to these rumours, and that they did after she had asked. I was never kicked from my management. I left my management in January 2024 on my own accord, as shown in these messages. Mia says I was kicked from management in June 2023, but I'd still been working with them and doing brand deals and premieres for the entirety of that year, as shown by this message from my management in July, and these messages about the Star Wars premiere I attended in August, 2 months after Mia claims that they had dropped me. I asked to leave my management in January 2024, which is 7 months after Mia claims she got me kicked from my management. I was never dropped or had any conversations about my relationship with my management at any point. What Mia has posted is a complete lie. I would like to make it incredibly clear that no one at any point ever reached out to me as a friend or colleague and asked me about my relationship until I never reached out to me, which I've discussed in this video, and that was months after we had broken up. At no point did anyone ask for my side or story. Nobody at all was aware of any of the information that I've shared in in this video except for Alice because nobody at any point ever asked. The one instance when my friends reached out to me, they leaked everything to my abuser. I did not expect people to understand my situation, and I was terrified to the point to which it had gotten to. I did not think there was anyone I could speak to, and I was terrified about what would happen if I did, as Alice had full access to my phone for the entire time we were together, while she unfollowed and isolated me from my friends, and because of this I stayed in a relationship which continued to get worse. Alice has excused her behaviour as reactive abuse, and has shown text messages where she has blurred out that she had been starting these fights. I had apologised to her after I had reacted to the physical violence, gaslighting, and manipulation that she would put me through.
Oh, he recorded this after he was crying. You can tell from the red and puffiness around his eyes. Either that or he stayed up very late editing this. Yep, you can tell the redness there. There's a difference between these cuts. And not just because his hair is more frazzled.
July, and these messages about the Star Wars premiere I attended in August, 2 months after Mia claims that they had dropped me. I asked to leave my management in January 2024, which is 7 months after Mia claims she got me kicked from my management. I was never dropped or had any conversations about my relationship with my management at any point. What Mia has posted is a complete lie. I would like to make it incredibly clear that no one at any point ever reached out to me as a friend or colleague and asked me about my relationship until I never reached out to me, which I've discussed in this video, and that was months after we had broken up. At no point did anyone ask for my side or story. Nobody at all was aware of any of the information that I've shared in this video except for Alice, because nobody at any point ever asked. The one instance when my friends reached out to me, they leaked everything to my abuser. I did not expect people to understand my situation, and I was terrified to the point to which it had gotten to. I did not think there was anyone I could speak to, and I was terrified about what would happen if I did, as Alice had full access to my phone for the entire time we were together, while she unfollowed and isolated me from my friends, and because of this I stayed in a relationship which continued to get worse. Alice has excused her behaviour as reactive abuse, and has shown text messages where she has blurred out that she had been starting these fights. I had apologised to her after I had reacted to the physical violence, gaslighting, and manipulation that she would put me through, as I was deeply upset over how I had reacted, as I felt I was losing control the longer I stayed in our relationship. Alice wrote in her document that I felt no remorse or guilt. I deeply regretted the way I had been acting, and I apologised constantly to Alice for how I had behaved. Our relationship was affecting me so greatly that I got progressively more sick the longer we stayed together. To say that things just flew past and I acted like nothing ever happened is completely untrue when it was having such a serious and severe effect on me. Alice constantly tried to push me to physical violence, which I refused to do, as she had told me to hit her on the 5th of October in an argument, and Alice said that I should hit her as a form of payback. Alice was trying to get me to react physically so she could use it to post online, and would constantly emotionally and physically abuse me until I would break so that she could screenshot my text messages or record me. This non-stop harassment has continued to this day, as Alice has gone after other people who she believes are my friends in an attempt to isolate me. I have not spoken to Alice or posted on my social media in nearly a year, but Alice has still been trying to control my life. Alice claimed in her document that I had projected all of my issues onto her, but has proceeded to diagnose me as a narcissist multiple times in this document, and also texted me saying that I had narcissistic personality disorder after I had reacted to Alice's abuse. Alice believed that I was on the spectrum and would call me autistic and bullied me when I tried to discuss the abuse in our relationship. The more our relationship progressed, the more I began to react emotionally to Alice's ongoing abuse, as she would shut me down, stonewall me, and insult me. These arguments would go on for hours, and I reached my breaking point when trying to discuss the issues that I had had. Alice would continually call me autistic, so I changed the way that I would try to discuss stuff in our conversation and arguments, just so I could get a response. Alice has then gone on to clip me during my severe mental breakdowns and has screenshotted text messages that we had in real time. This entire situation was premeditated from Alice, as she had been screenshotting me throughout these breakdowns in real time, as shown by the fact that I am still typing and the dates in the messages that she has shown. Alice has proceeded to crop out that she had nicknamed me racial slurs, as Alice freely used this language throughout our relationship, but has hidden this and altered her behaviour when she was knowingly recording me and building her document so that she could paint me as crazy and psychotic and push the entire blame of this onto me. I had complained about this at the beginning of our relationship and texted Alice about the fact that her and her friends use this language freely. Alice would tell me to ignore this and told me that I was stupid for complaining about it and that I cared too much about how people would perceive me online. Alice has lied that I normalised this language on Twitter, despite it being her who actively bragged about it and brought it into our relationship. I'm not claiming that I am innocent in this relationship. I retaliated with vile language and threats that have been normalised, and this is disgusting and unacceptable.
That's the least you could say.
Alice wrote in her document that this is what happens when a narcissist meets an empath. They feed off it. But Alice has posted multiple videos about me online, a document that is filled with lies, and has also continued to harass me and others in an attempt to isolate me for the last year. I hope by not responding or reacting that Alice would move on like she had claimed she would in her document, but Alice has continued to post about me and has harassed others in an attempt to get to me. Alice said that these posts that she had made about me were a cry for help and not attention in her document, but Alice asked me to make a public apology to stop her ongoing harassment of me. It has been over a year since we broke up, and Alice has continued to lie about me to this day in her posts online and to other YouTubers who then posted those lies about me in videos that now have millions of views. Alice wrote in her document that after I ended the relationship he tried to manipulate me, telling me we just need time and that he will change, and begged me to give him a chance to change and make things better. This went on for months. He kept doing this and then getting angry when I didn't give back the same energy. Alice at no point has mentioned that she was harassing me and blackmailing me privately, and that she had been asking me to fix our relationship with letters, while she invited herself over and told me to make her dinner. This was going on all whilst Alice was using traumatic experiences that I had shared with her privately to torment me and drive me to a mental breakdown intentionally after I'd started to break away from our abusive relationship, and that during all of this, she had been planning to expose me for a document that she had told my ex-girlfriend Jess about. Alice wrote, "I've had threats of story manipulation from Alex, so I want to clear all of these up before he gets the chance to try try and victimize himself and disregard everything he's ever done to me. But Alice has lied and manipulated these stories constantly in her document to portray a narrative which is not true. Before I end this video, I would like to apologize to anyone who I upset or offended in the videos and text messages that Alice shared. I wish no ill will on anyone who has posted about me or shared these stories online. I am ashamed that many others were dragged into this unintentionally because of my actions. To the many people who have reached out publicly and privately, I greatly appreciate the kindness and generosity many of you have shown at a time where I have not deserved it. And I hope that I can repay you by being a better person. Thank you for listening to what I had to say.
Literally beginning to end, even though in multiple clips, although he did eventually get to using new things and bring it all back around with conclusion, this has been the most efficient YouTube discovery, apology, and truth-telling breakdown I've ever seen in the history of my career, and that I've ever seen as a content creator. To the fact that there was no bloviating at the end. He just simply laid it out as it was. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Now, that being said, by no means, by having made this apology, does that mean that you need to hand it to ImAllexx? That you need to say, ImAllexx had necessarily a point without addressing the fact that while a victim, he did not take the steps necessary to unlynch himself from the tree of his own girl's hunger for his career, his clout, his opportunities, or any relevance that she could get off of dating him. And he clearly needs to go on a very long due path of mental health care, therapy, and shadow work. However, he was clearly victimized. He and her were clearly toxic to each other. They were a wonderful textbook example of what a whirlwind romance looks like, and not the good kind. Now that he has told his story, and we now have confirmation not only that the harassment was done specifically and explicitly because they were looking to create opportunities to make money for themselves or gain clout for themselves, like clout goblins do, but now the confirmation of the other side of the equation about why they chose to go all out as they did on Jesse, thank you, Jabot, and that both Lewis McClung and Cladisms were in fact on that fuck shit. We now know for a 100% certainty 3 things. 1, ImAllexx needs to get a handle on the women he dates, and he needs to pick better women. 2, if Alice wants to walk away with a single W, yes, your boyfriend was not the best for you. You need to learn to pick better men. But 3, we have had confirmation that when it benefited him, Danger Jabot did not bend and break. I never did. Alice did. The ex before the ex of his did. Other people did. Cataclysms did. Lewis McClung did. And multiple people who did not just address the story for what it was, but were looking for ways to try to bury him did. And they did because they were in on what was a malicious campaign put out by the woman. And on that hidden fourth thing, I can feel sorry for you, but I don't feel sympathy for you. Ultimately, you got what you had coming to you because of the way you lived your life and how you chose to behave and how you chose to deliberately or unintentionally resolve your problems with your woman. The moment she started giving you friction and problems like that, you should have fucking walked. The moment that she started telling you, do this for me, otherwise I'm gonna hurt you, you should have walked. The moment she tried to manipulate how you emotionally were, to gaslight you and behaving a certain way, and instantly the moment you found out that she was putting a document together on you to socially execute you and do character assassination in clear view of everybody else, you should have been out of there double haste. All of this could have been avoided if you just had a better partner. Would you still have abused them? I can't say for certain. But she clearly fucked with you. Your reactions to her were not positive and good. your physical altercations with her, that just poisons you in a lot of people's face, man. Let this be your lesson, and hopefully you start doing good things in the future. Maybe, who knows, maybe a Holly Joy comes along in your life like it did for Hunter Avalon. And maybe you have an ex-Degrassi star decide to be your girlfriend and lift you out of your dregs so you can find yourself again. Maybe that happens for you. Who knows? But, nigga, this has been the wildest roller coaster I've seen in a bit. Dead ass. Dead ass. No, my internet. So, with that being said, thank you for the Chupa Chats that have been donated. I can report to everyone right now today, while I still have you here, the YouTube payment has come in. I have put the money on the side for both Southit from Midnight and Expedition 33. And we will begin increasing the coffers for all the other releases that will come out soon. One of which is Spirit Swap's Lo-Fi Beats to Swap 3-2. I can buy that one immediately. Today is Friday. I believe I'm going to cover Leadhead tomorrow. And then on Sunday, I believe we will combine the Dare Drop stream for Merchants with Rosewell, if I don't do it tomorrow before that VsChat, which that's also a thing I can do. I believe then we're going to look at all of the upcoming titles that are going to come out, and we're going to decide which one we want to put the next drop of monies towards for hostage streams. So be aware that all the content that will come through at South of Midnight was made possible for viewers and haters and supporters and viewers like you, both on YouTube, TikTok, well, not TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Thank you. Thank you very much. As all of these things are going to a wonderful place, me. I joke, I keyed. Anyways, the time is now 10:39 p.m. I have a secret project that I am working on right now. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to drop it randomly at the same time I finish a couple other projects. And then surprise you with it. Preferably, I think I should be able to have it done before the end of the month. However, I said that before last time. It might have a little bit of overhang because it's currently the 21st. Gives me about a few days, 9 days, 10, 11 days. I can't count. I literally can't remember if the month has 31st. 9 to 11 days. I should have it out before or by then. If not, it will drop the first few days in the first week of April. I'm going to wait until South of Midnight fully comes out because I'm going to try and probably snipe a key for cheaper if I can find it somewhere. But I have the money. It has been set aside. It has been pre-planned. We will make content. I will make fun of it. I will suffer. And you will watch. And the worst content I've ever given you. No, the worst content you've ever given me is every furry I keep having to go over. Brian Bones the Fox will be the worst. It will be the worst. Because his takes never stop. He never stops giving bad takes. Anyways. I believe that is all I have for you all. I need to piss like a racehorse. I will see you. Same bat time. Same Carl channel. It's probably one of the ones that I was going to do, but I set it across to the side. Is this about the new furry shit that you just gave me yesterday? The one that was 100 pages long? Because I haven't even opened up that one to look at what's inside of it. Mainly the reason I didn't, because I saw it was over 100 pages. There's just a lot of stuff that I could cover versus chat. I had half a mind to cover, Sasan. Yes, no. I must be confused about what I'm talking about. You'll send it to me again. Okay. Because I had an idea to do Harry Sasan, but I feel like Harry Sasan was not important. Ah, yes. Pamper Chew. I had multiple on the dossier. Probably for Sunday, if I squeeze it in, because we do still need to do movie night as well. On Sunday, if I squeeze it in, we would have a shorter yappin', then a versus chat, and then movie nights. Because if I do Leadhead tomorrow, that will leave time for Pamper Chew, and that will then make space for whatever else is on the docket, alongside the movies. Isn't it fun when people keep you up at all hours of the night because they demand to have the internet fixed? I love it. Don't you love it? Anyways, where'd my lid go? Here it is. That's it. This thing keeps coming off of it. But anyways, if I do it in that order, that is how we'll have time for Pamper Chew. So, for that one specifically, I think you told me I couldn't open that on stream, specifically on Twitch, unless I'm thinking of another one entirely. So, work that out. It'll be Leadhead, then Yappin' on Sunday, and then that as well. If I do the Dare Drop at the same time as Yappin', should then give us time on Sunday for movie nights afterwards, because that looks like it should be long enough that it floats us to about 4 to 5 p.m. Okay, that was a different one. This can be open on stream. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's long enough. That's long enough. All right. Still, racehorse, gotta piss. Anyways, I will see you all same bat time, same Carl channel. Excuse me. I will see you all in the funny papers, and I will bill you for my therapy. You specifically, horror. You specifically. Goodbye, chat.